All right, we'll give everyone a second to stream in before we officially start, so we can just have some light banter until then. Dan, I like your background; it's really nice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Couldn't figure out the virtual background, so I'm with a couple of tech wizards. I'm old.
You don't have any decorations in your home?
So I'm a therapist. I'm on Zoom all day, every day. So this is sort of my setup, and I feel like if I have anything behind me, it's going to be distracting, or clients are going to want to talk about it. So I like to just have a pure background.
I got a therapist, and she's got all sorts of shit in her background. Like she got her degree. She's got like this.
See, that's what people do. I feel like that's very like I don't know. It's ostentatious. Like, oh yes, I'm educated, and you should trust me. I keep it straight. I cheated my way through graduate school, so I don't want to. I don't want to put on any airs like I'm going to be able to help the person.
Yeah, how about I like the Third Strike poster back there now?
Oh, I have all the posters over here. I got the Third Strike. We got this one here.
Oh yeah. There you go.
We got this one here, and then I don't know. I got the cabs too.
Oh man.
Yeah, I got the whole setup.
Who plays there? I got to come over.
I play my Mr. Kid. I play Super Mario World on that mostly. I'm all right. I don't know how you've played for this long. When's the longest that you took off? I mean, in the 24 some odd years you've played, have you taken years off before?
I think probably like the most was like, I would say a year to a year and a half. I can't really remember when, but I think it was like 2010 to about 2012.
Was it a conscious decision? Were you like, I'm done with this shit, or did you just not find a space in your life because you were doing other stuff?
Yeah, I think at the time I had just played in Togeki, and I'm like, all right, I accomplished my goal kind of to play in Togeki, and then it was kind of like, the thing that I feel is very strange, and I tell Sherwin this all the time, is that when I come back from Japan, like I come back discouraged, man, they're so good over there. Why the hell am I wasting my time playing the people here? I'm never gonna get better. But like other people, they go to Japan, they're like, oh my God, I'm so motivated. I've seen so much stuff. I want to come home and get so much better. I'm like, dude, how do you get better? Do you have any idea? Like, that's not going to happen here?
So are you under the impression that the American skill level is the result of there just not being enough good players, like steel sharpening steel, iron sharpening iron, that we just don't have the ability to ever reach that level because there aren't enough good players?
Absolutely. So it was a transition period for me in Japan. I was there for 2 weeks, and then I left. Went back for another week. The first, I would say, the first 4 days was like a transition period where I'm not used to being told no a lot in the States. I do whatever I want, and you're gonna take it, and you're not gonna be able to stop it. But when I was in Japan, they were saying no to me a lot, and even some of my best moves, like it would work like once or twice, and then they're gonna say no, and it was quite a transition period to be like, all right, you need to be constantly adjusting, and not just that, but they play very disciplined, and every player there with every character is capable of just winning the round on you on like a simple mistake. So I can't play as careless as I do here in the States. And here in the States, I'll make a mistake. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get up and still win the round. I'm going to find a way, because you're not going to be able to, you might have stopped this, but you're not going to stop that, but Japan, that's a completely different story. So it took me about 3 to 4 days to really adjust to that mindset of, okay, Yi, like people are going to say no to you. Stop trying for the same things, and, stop being so careless. I had to play a lot more discipline. The key word is being disciplined.
It's very humbling to hear you, of all people, say this was your experience, because when I play you say no to all my shit. And if there's a guy out there saying no to you, someone say no to him? I'm like, where's the top?
Yeah. So every player there is. I mean, I'm not saying not every player. So are we Lance? Are we live? You're just gonna.
Yeah, we're live here.
This
Let
is
me,
it, right?
since we're kind of talking. Okay, we got some people in the chat. We're talking here. Let me do our intro real quick, and then we'll just go. Okay, welcome to the Lance and Ray podcast, featuring me, Lance, and Ray, who's not here.
And Ray,
He's
nice to meet you.
he's on a spiritual journey. He said he's finding himself. He said he should be found by next week. So we're good on that. In the meantime, subbing in for Ray, we have Dr. Steelhammer as our my fellow interviewer. As our guest, we have 5-star Yi Wang. Uh, yeah,
Is
so
that the intro for 5-star Yi Wang? This is a
the
man.
previous
can we
Jazzy
put
champion.
some fucking respect on this man's name.
Yeah,
Togeki. I don't
Kevin
know about you,
Durant.
Lance. I grew up watching this man.
yeah.
Lance texted me at like 5 o'clock. Do you want to host a podcast tonight with Yi? Any other person, I would say, fuck that. I am playing Helldivers 2, which is one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life. But for 5-star, I mean, this man, I'm 15 years old. I'm watching YouTube videos, Family Fun Arcade, Yi, Amir, Pyro. It's all I watched in terms of American Third Trick. I knew New York, and I was in New Jersey. I knew New York had a scene. There was no footage. I didn't really give a fuck. It was all SoCal, and it was this man at the top of the totem pole going to Togeki. I mean, dude, for the young guys out there was something called Super Battle Opera. I never went. Lance never went. This man went to it. I would love to hear what the hell Togeki was like. What year did you go?
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a great way to start. Anyways, that's a great way to start. So, I'm not gonna tell my story because I've been telling this story for 25 years on how I started playing Third Strike.
How did you get
But
the name
basically,
5-star? How did you get the name 5-star?
oh my god, Dr. Steelhammer. Not answering that question anymore. But I've been playing this game for I think since I was 16. I'm 40 now. 24 years. So I've been playing this game longer than some of you have been alive. I used to ditch high school and go to the arcade, and that's how I started playing Third Strike. Okay, so that's the story. And then FFA, for some reason, just so happened to be my local arcade, happened to be known for Third Strike. There was a Frankie 3S, a Victo Lee, a Pyro Lee, and back then there was Paul Lee, there was a Geo, and they would all gather at FFA, and that's how I got into it. So that's the story. Now, for all like as Steelhammer said, as you guys said, there was something called Togeki Super Battle Opera back in the day. So, yeah, that was, I guess I would say, at the time, Japan's like national tournament for every game. And they were gracious enough to always give the U.S. one spot and sometimes two spots, one for the West Coast, one for the East Coast. The format would be different most of the years, but most of the time it was a 3-on-3 Third Strike tournament. For Third Strike, it was 3-on-3. So you would qualify here in the States, and then you would go to Japan, and you would, just play in this unbelievable tournament. They had a stage. So the first one I went to was 2008. It was at this wrestling arena in Japan, a Japanese pro wrestling arena. This is like August. It was hot as hell, humid. I remember like YSB was drinking a beer outside. YSB Hugo. Just bringing back these memories. But yeah, it's a wrestling arena, and they have a stage for the games. And you guys definitely go look this up if you're watching. SBO 2008 Third Strike.
Fantastic Third Strike tournament as well. I mean, that was really like 2008, 2009, 2010. That for me was one of the peaks of the game. I mean, you can make an argument that the peak is now because of the ease of access and all the great, but like in terms of the game really fucking mattering, like that time period, I felt like with Kuroda at the top of his game, MOV at the top of their, it was like wild high level shit, and that was so long ago now.
Yeah, so the 2008 was when the Legend of Kuroda began, and back then there was like I remember like seeing this thread on SRK. They said like Kuroda was the best with like almost every character in the game except like Yang and Chun-Li, right? And I'm like, there's no way, and because like back at the time, there's no videos, there's no stream, and there was only one video. It was Ino versus Kuroda, Ken versus
It's
Goki.
a hell of a set. I mean, that shit's high level. I think for years I pointed that as the highest level third strike I'd ever seen on film.
Right. Okay. So at the time that was the only video, and I'm still I don't believe it yet. I'm like, there's no way Kuroda's the best with all these characters. So head over to Japan. This is August, and we go to this, and this is before Togeki. So everybody's there. Everybody's in Tokyo, and we go into Club Sega in Shinjuku, which is no longer, rest in peace, no longer there. And the fighting games are downstairs in the basement. And this is when, this is such a long time ago that smoking was still allowed downstairs inside in Japan. And so it was a 5-on-5 tournament, Third Strike, basement, Club Sega. There was, I think, 60 teams of 5.
Wow.
Yeah, 60 teams of 5. And we played in the tournament, and it was like me, Justin Wong, Gutex, Ed Ma, and yeah, that was us. We lost to Kokujin's team in the first round. So, anyways, whatever. This is, in my opinion, one of the sickest tournaments. None of this is on tape. Lost tapes. Nobody will ever see it. It's just word of mouth. I remember parts of this tournament was Issei shows up, and it's him and Ma Jr. It's just a 2-man team, and they basically almost make it to the finals with just Issei. Yeah. But anyway, so the finals comes down to Kuroda. It was Kuroda, MOV, I forgot the rest of their team, and they played Ochibi, KO, Nuki, another really overpowered team on the other side, and Kuroda just massacred them. Made them look like babies, and with Goki, and I had never seen this ever in my life, and I've been playing these guys all week, and just to see Kuroda absolutely just devastate this team of 5 who I thought was unbeatable, just doing whatever he wanted, and just turning to the crowd and clapping. It was just an unbelievable sight. Yeah, so that was 2008.
You had the opportunity to see Kuroda at the peak of his powers. It's like Jordan in his prime. It's like seeing Babe Ruth call his shot. I mean, it's and it's not on camera. I mean, what an unbelievable opportunity. There are so many moments that have passed in Third Strike's history that you can never replicate, because the game has changed so much. You were very much right there, boots on the ground for a lot of these huge. I mean, I've watched SBO 2008 countless times. I wasn't fucking there. I was I don't know, a senior in high school. No, I was a freshman in college. And I was playing Third Strike, but I was playing it online against Sandy Bags on Wi-Fi and an LCD TV, and I thought I could beat the fuck out of 5-star. I remember watching, I was like, 5-star can't touch me. But you were there. You were actually in Japan witnessing these things with your own eyes and playing. And I'm curious to hear, you just got back from Japan. You said you had 2 trips recently. Your first experience in Japan, was it SBO?
Yeah, so I've been in Japan. I'll list all the times I've been in Japan. I was in Japan 2008 for SBO. I was in Japan for 2010 in SBO. I was in Japan for Coop for 2018, 2019, and then for my recent trip last month. So I've been in Japan pretty much 6 times. This was the most extended stay that I wanted to do. Yeah. This is the most extended I've been there.
In those 6 visits, have you felt like you've caught up at all? Have you felt like the gap has widened? I mean, where do you stand today compared to the Japanese level, compared to maybe 2008 when you first arrived?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I've always felt like I could definitely go toe to toe with these guys. But like I said earlier, there's a huge transition period. The first week you're there is all just transition period of adjusting to Japanese play, being told no. And figuring out how to get around no. But my past trips were always either for just a week, and then I had to go home. So by the time I adjusted, it was too late. So every time I went there, I always felt like I'm competitive, but I just couldn't get over the hump. I had to. There was too much adjustment period for me to get over the hump. This time I was there, I had to extend the stay. It's always been my dream to and I think this is a dream for any player that plays Third Strike, is to stay in Japan for extended period of time and just play Third Strike. And I did that. And so for the like I said, the first 3-4 days was definitely an adjustment period. But the next two weeks, I definitely adjusted, and I was able to go toe to toe. I'm sure you guys seen some of the videos
Yeah, a
that
lot of
were
footage has
posted.
come out recently.
Yeah, you mostly
It was a
lost
joint
in the
winner.
ones that I saw, about the Third Strike channel, and mostly
Oh yeah,
losing.
I know that they only like to post the ones of me losing, but the channel was gracious enough to post some of my wins. I thank you, Third Strike channel for
But I
giving me
think
some of that.
I saw a lot of the footage. The run you had at East West was all that I'll remember.
There's two of those. Did you see
I
both?
didn't know that. No, I only saw the one. It was like
There was another one the next
I think it
week
was the
where I
one
won
that
the whole thing.
Yomada. Oh, really? I saw the
Yeah, I
one
won the
that
whole thing.
Yomada was at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, definitely adjustment period for the first 3-4 days, but I started to take off after that. Then I was able to okay, I knew for sure I belong here. I can play, I can
You're
play
a
in this league.
confidence-based player. I mean, when I play guys like you, I know that I've never broken you, but I've played similar mental type guys. I feel like Ahmed has a similar mental kind of toughness to you, but I've cracked Ahmed. I've never cracked you, but I feel like you okay. For those who haven't seen what Yi did in Jazzy Season 2, I would say with full confidence it's the single greatest achievement in the history of American Third Strike. To win the Jazzy finale 6-0 against Issei.
6-1, 6-1, 6-1. Thank
You
you
got
though,
one?
but 6-1.
Oh,
I lost
wow.
one, yes.
I'd take it back. It was a very impressive performance, but my performance the year after getting second place was superior. No, I'm kidding. No, it was without question the greatest thing that I've ever seen an American do in Third Strike, but it was all momentum based. Like once you got rolling, and I can imagine if your wheels aren't rolling, it can be frustrating because you've always played very much with your heart and your balls. And I guess if you can't find your balls, it's probably pretty hard to fucking play your style of Third Strike.
Yeah, so that's also something that was problematic for me in the beginning because I am, momentum based player and very reaction and very momentum and like you said, play with with my heart and stuff. I had to really for the adjust to playing a lot more calm style. And if anything, I were to take from this trip, I'm a lot more calmer player now, especially in the middle of the screen. Yeah, and that really I was like, oh, I'm capable of this. I'm capable of slowing down. I'm capable of just yeah. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but my gameplay has definitely improved a lot, especially in neutral. My neutral guard has gotten a lot better. I'm a lot calmer. I look for moves a lot. I anticipate moves a lot better, and I can still turn it up if I wanted to, but it's not always necessary now, and that's something that I really learned to play in Japan because you really can't just go all out all the time. You're gonna get yourself killed. I mean, the first day I was there, the guy I played the most was Tominaga, and that guy, the guy broke the game kind of, where it's when you
I mean, fully. I think. I mean, you can make an argument he's ruined the game. I mean, it's
So he is definitely a heel in Japan. So he can pretty much 100% you from anywhere on the screen, and he's so good at it. He never misses. And so if you don't play cautious, if you're not aware of things that are going on, he's gonna get you, and you're gonna lose. It doesn't matter your life lead. It's over once he catches you. So I mean, I'm kind of glad that my first player that I really sat down and played a set with was Tominaga because it really made me rethink. Okay, he's saying no to you a lot, and you're playing a little too reactive, and it's almost like you can't as good as your reactions might be. It's like you can't react to everything that they're gonna throw your way. So it's better to just guard. Yeah, neutral guard, neutral spacing. Yeah.
the American style, from what I've heard talking to Daisuke and talking with Issei, it's a very heavy reaction based. I think RKF also has made similar kind of observations. It's interesting to see how, in Japan, the style is so radically different, and it really does appear to be more efficient and more effective. But America, we like just big explosive moves, hard reads. We like in your face, rush that shit down. And like you've taken that American style of Ken all the way. It's interesting to see how like that style, although obviously when it works really well. To balance it with a slower, more methodical, patient style is probably the most effective version of Ken. Like, because if you look at the spectrum of Ken, from like Matsu Ken to Desh Ken, the truth in terms of like best style of Ken is probably a mixture of both based on what the opponent is giving you.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I get a chance to play Matsuken, but it's like I still play really fast. I still play at a really high pace, and still, I'm still doing the same things. But it's hard to explain. But my guard is a lot better. I don't know how to explain that, but
I don't know if you remember when we played in Jazzy 1. So my first time ever playing you was a casual game right before they called the start of the tournament. It was the last casual game before the start of Jazzy 1, and I beat you, and it was the first time I ever played you. And I walked in, and they go, your first opponent is 5-star. And I had more confidence than I would have ever expected, because I literally just beat this dude 7 minutes ago. I sat down to play you, and you were a totally different human being. The game that I played in casuals compared to the game and it wasn't like you were better or worse. You were just a completely different person. So within the first 12 seconds, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And what you did that game was absolutely nothing but let me kill myself. So like, I think you maybe undersold your ability throughout your career to be able to tap into this side of yourself. Because like when you beat me, and we've only played in tournament once, and you fucked me up, you didn't rush that shit down. You literally just let me tackle myself to death. And I don't know if this is a Urian-specific game plan, like the Matador style, but you've had this in your bones at some point. I mean, this is not like a new. Maybe you woke it back up in Japan, but like you've always kind of known how to do this.
Yeah, you know what? I think Urian is just one of my matchups that I've always been really really good at. I almost always beat Urian players. So yeah, so in terms of that match, I'm really good at it. So I know how to play that perfectly. Whereas when I go to Japan, this is probably the best example to use, is like I'm not used to playing their Makotos at all. Like the Makoto players here in Japan, I'm sorry, in the States compared to in Japan, completely different character. I remember telling Sherwin this, like once you play Mimura, it's like the game changes. Like, what is going on? I've never seen this character before. The guy's so fast. It's just he's
Spider-Man, right? I mean, the speed translates through video. That's how you know it's real fast.
Incredibly, he's like 2, 3, 4, 5 moves ahead, and he has all 3, 4, 5 moves accounted for it. Like whatever counter you have for it. So I went there, and my first. So this is how it was. I went there first night was Tominaga versus. It was me. I played Tominaga. I played Yomoda, and then I played Kashi for like 2 hours after they closed.
I loved Kashi Ken. He was always my favorite. When I was a Ken player in 2006 to 2010, he was my dude.
Yeah, so he works at Versus, and and you know what? He is kind of like Kuroda Jr., where he knows everything about the game. He knows everything about Street Fighter 6 as well. He's teaching people how to play Street Fighter 6. Yeah, he's pretty much Kuroda. Like I saw him, like Julian, the Makoto players. I was beating Julian, and then like Kashi was trying to tell him how to play, and then Kashi's like, "Get out, let me play," and Kashi beats me on his first try with Makoto. So Kashi, like he's very, 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 very technical, and he's sort of like Kuroda. So I was playing him, and then the next day, Boss gets everybody together because I'm here. I'm here. Boss gets everybody together. And we meet up in Shinjuku, and so Boss brings these players out. So we're at Shinjuku. I'm waiting for them. He's like 8 p.m. 5-star. Can you make it? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. He brings the whole third monster team. It's Boss, it's Sho, it's Yomoda, Michael, Mimura. Yes, the whole third monster team, the one that won pre-coup.
Yeah,
and Shirokuro was. Yeah, and Shirokuro so happened to be there. So they basically run a train on me for my second day there, and then they were nice enough to buy me dinner after.
They have it backwards. So America, you get dinner and then they fuck you.
This is the difference between America and Japan is the order in which the fucking and the versus the dinner.
They fuck your ass and then they get you a nice lobster dinner. That's nice.
Right. So yeah, I played them for like 3-4 hours, and then I did pretty good. I always play boss first to 10. We played Ken, and then we played Ken Yoon. It was 10-8 and then 10-5. Um, respectable.
Well, I mean, it's boss.
Yeah. And then so after that, the next day, I had planned to go to Nagoya to play with the Nagoya players. I'd never been in Nagoya, so I took the train. Kitagawa, one of the guys, Kitagawa Ken, one of my favorite Ken players, one of my favorite guys in the scene. We were on the same pre-coup Ken team before, so we went out there. It was like everybody came out in Nagoya that hadn't come out in a long time. So it was Kitagawa, Masa Q, Luca, Chelsea, Hiro-chan came out, Yukio Toko came out.
Wow, the snowman
Yeah,
himself.
Snowman was there. Yes,
I haven't heard his
Afro
name.
Yurian.
Afro, he's strong. He looks strong. I'm curious your review because footage-wise, I learned a lot from Afro.
Unfortunately, didn't get to play him. But yeah, they were all there, and so and the character I struggled the most against was Makoto. Like Chelsea and Luca were beating me, and then I got pretty drunk on Saturday night. I was supposed to go back to Tokyo on Sunday. I'm like, you know what? Let me just stay an extra day. It was a great choice there. Third Strike Gods was like, you need to stay here another day. So I met up with Chelsea, plays Makoto, and I'm like, I am determined to get good at this match because I'm not good at this match at all. Like, I don't even know how to play against this character. So, I played Chelsea for like 3-4 hours straight, Ken Makoto, and just like I would say like an hour in, it just clicked and got him. Like just figured it out. Went back to Tokyo. Big shout out to Chelsea, great guy. Went back to Tokyo, and I started playing Mimura and Tominaga, and Yomoto was like, "Wow, have you been studying the Makoto match?" Yeah, so right away, like I already saw like the fruits of my labor. Exactly what I wanted to do on this trip, accomplish on this trip. Let's get better at this game, improve to myself and the Japanese players that I can play at this level. So,
with 24 years experience, because this is a pretty rapid development in your Makoto matchup knowledge, and I think that comes as the fact that like as the result of 24 years of understanding and playing this game, that maybe a player with 2 or 3 years experience and they struggle against a character, it's going to take them 4 or 5 more years to figure it out. But like I think you already have all the pieces. It's just a matter of changing what you're looking at, changing what you're it's a perspective switch rather than like you've got to learn something. I mean, you already know so much. It's just where you kind of put your eyes, where you're going to put your focus.
I think that's a flawed way of looking at things because I think that's what holds us back. I think when you tell yourself I'm terrible at this matchup, I know nothing about this matchup, it really allows you to grow more as a player. Like I went in there thinking I know nothing about this match. I never even played this character before. And when I did that, it's like it made me restart my whole learning process. Like it's like golf. I don't know if you guys play golf. You guys, I'm sorry, golf. You guys are white. I just assumed.
I mean, of course, you even have to ask. I love golf.
There you go. So, how important is it? Like, you know how you start playing golf and like you start swinging it, and you're just you develop bad habits, right, on your swing. And how hard is it to fix those bad habits?
It's impossibly difficult. I mean,
it's impossible.
Like when you get a golf lesson and you've been playing for a long time, what the instructor really has to do is remove before he adds. It's like
that's the same thing about third strike.
Yeah, it's cutting off the fat. And my own personal development, like when I got better at third strike, I didn't add much. I mean, I added stupid combos that I never landed in a match, but I removed 80% of what I thought Urian was.
Yeah. That's how I feel about third strike. I've already developed so many bad habits in this matchup against Makoto because I got away with beating Makoto players like Arlieth here, doing whatever I want. So it's like, this isn't a good move. Like you can't be using this move here. So it was kind of like I need to start from scratch, and that's the only way to get better. So yeah, I mean, yeah, even though I have 24 years experience playing third strike, I also have 23 bad years of having to deal with Arlieth.
So So I have a question on that. So this is not the first time you've rebuilt yourself from scratch. I remember this is I've mentioned this thread a few times, but many of the viewers may not have read it. But there was a showyoucan.com thread, 5-star teaches third strike, and in this thread, I read this thread once a year for like my first 8 years. And one of the things you talked about was like, oh, when I started off, I knew I could win with Oki. I'll just Oki attack and beat all my opponents. And, I will just jump at them and then I'll do Oki and I'll win. And then you were like, okay, I have to rebuild myself because that's not going to get the job done. You said, I only tried to win with zoning moves for like a whole year, like only zoning moves. So what you're describing now is rebuilding yourself from scratch, but you seem like you've reinvented yourself a few times throughout your career.
I'm always looking for ways to improve as a player. Like, if you're not looking for ways to improve as a player, like you're not a serious player. Like, you're not going to be able to compete in Japan if you're not always looking to reinvent yourself. And I get it sometimes. Like, I lost inspiration for times. There's times where I'm just going through the motions, such as the last Jazzy Circuit just kind of went through the motions. There's a lot of times, but then you find your inspiration, and then you want to rebuild yourself again. And the key word that I used in my thread 15 years ago was the word discipline. Like, I could have easily come back to the States, played the players here, and gone back to being lazy and doing what always worked for me. Like, I could still easily get a 20-game win streak doing what I used to do. But is that going to help me once I go back to Japan in April?
Sounds like it would hurt you, actually, to reinforce those bad habits.
Exactly. Like, it's like my goal has always been to play with Japan, not to win games in America. It's never appealed to me. Like, I think one of the comments was saying how like the major league comment where they were saying like 5 stars to Ichiro and of America, and Japan's like Major League Baseball. Like, to me, like, I want to be Luka Doncic. I want to play in the NBA. Like, I'm not trying to play here in the G League. No disrespect, but yeah.
Well,
big leagues over there.
Perspective, because you have 6 trips to the big stage and you performed. I mean, you had a top 8 at Cooperation Cup, the only American team, Los Vatos Locos, to ever make top 8. The SBO experience, the national champion winning Jazzy. Like, I think what you have is you've seen the mountaintop. Where a lot of us, myself included, I've never been to Japan. I've played Issei, I've played Daisuke, I've played but I've never actually been to the belly of the beast. And I, throughout my entire life playing this game, have never really known just how good they are and just how bad I am. And like, when I hear stories about you and your struggles, and then I compare my struggles to yours, it's like, I struggle. It's very, very hard to swallow, but it's a lot.
Yeah, dude. I remember, like, because Pyro would go to Japan a lot. He was going to Japan like 2003. So I didn't go to Japan until 2008. So there's like a 5-year stretch where Pyro was going every year once a year.
2003? That's crazy.
Yeah.
What
So every time
back then, I mean, like, was there
he went for Togeki.
Oh,
yeah, SBO 1. He was in SBO, I think 2, 3, 4. He won like he went all 5 years. I was a broke college student, so like, going to SBO wasn't really in my fortunes at the time. But so Pyro would go. He was that committed to the game. Mad props for him. I wish I had gone earlier. It wasn't in my cards. It really changes your perspective on things. I wish I went sooner. I would seen things a lot differently earlier. But I remember Pyro would come back, and I'd always ask him like, "Oh, how's this player? How's this player?" And he's like, "Oh my god, gee, like, this guy's this good, this guy's that good." And by the way, like, for all the idiots on YouTube, like, you can't tell how good these guys are on the video. Trust me. I remember, like, there was a video of like Yomoto just beating Kashi really bad, and Yomoto beat me 16-0 one night. Ken versus Dudley. So just telling you how good Yomoto is. He beat me 16-0. I saw him beat Shirokuro like 7 times in a row. Made him look like a child. Like, and then when these people on YouTube, they like see a video of somebody losing, like, oh, this guy sucks. Like, you have no idea how good the other player is. Like, it's like just so rude, you know, like God, like
It is. So I watch a lot of UFC, and like in the most recent fights this weekend, the champion Volkanovski, who's an unbelievable
yeah, I
fighter.
made your money on the
On
other
Volk?
guy.
Oh, cool. You had Topiera or whatever you say. I guess
Yeah, I
Topiera.
won. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you won. But if you were a casual viewer of MMA and you watched that fight, you could walk away saying Volkanovski sucks. It's like, no, that's one of the greatest fighters on the face of the earth. He didn't win, and he lost to someone who that day was much better. But it's very easy to backseat game or to backseat, Monday morning quarterback. But what's different about Third Strike is like if you try hard, I mean, you won't be able to play the Japanese guys without going over there. But like talk shit about somebody in America, you'll probably find a way to play him if you try hard enough, and you'll feel the power. You can't do that with MMA. I mean, Volkanovski's not going to come and kick our asses, but like somebody will who's you're talking shit about on YouTube. Go on Fight Kid.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with like the American culture where it's like, dude, do you like it's like all professional sports, right? Like there's a platform. So that's like I think this is like where things go wrong in society is now there's a platform for everybody to voice their opinions. And some people just shouldn't have opinions. They shouldn't be allowed a platform. They shouldn't be allowed to have a Twitter handle. They shouldn't be allowed to comment on YouTube because why? Because they're fucking morons. That means and that goes and that applies to all aspects of life, whether it be Third Strike, sports, politics, whatever it may be. Some people should not, and I'm sure you guys agree with me on this. And I think that's the problem with the culture here in fight. I mean, I just in general is like when one player does something wrong or loses one game, just God forbid they ever lose once. The influx of comments come in like, "Oh, this guy sucks. He's washed up." Like you saying about Volk, right?
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. Like it's
You're only as good as your last YouTube clip on the Third Strike YouTube channel. Everybody knows that.
No.
exactly. America is free, and all of this. It's like even when I win, like the comments are like, "Wow, this is an embarrassment for Japanese." It's like even when I win, it's damned if I do, damned if I don't.
I really
If
like
I
that
lose,
comment.
it's like
That was my
the
favorite.
contrast between your Jazzy 2 win against Issei and my Jazzy 3 loss against Issei in Grand Finals. Like, the comments are hilarious because on my video, it's like, fucking Gaijin trash, you suck, you'll never win. And your video, it's like, oh man, the Japanese are such an embarrassment. I can't believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And it's like, you can never win with YouTube comments.
Losing to a 5-star is like losing to a WNBA team for Japan.
I'm not terrible, guys. I'm a WNBA team, dude. You won't even let me be the Detroit Pistons. They can't even let me be the Detroit Pistons.
Lisa Leslie of Third Strike. Too much.
Yeah.
But that's I mean that's in general, right? Like so the higher the fewer. So like when you watch 5-star versus Yamada on you're watching 1%ers, right? You're watching Yi, who is like in the top 1% of Third Strike players ever easily, probably fraction of that, probably 0.1%,
Yeah.
and then you're watching Yamada, who's an even higher level than that, right? And there's no way that you could have context for that without experiencing it yourself, unless you go and play them both. And even if you play them both, if you're bad, you don't really understand what makes them good, right? You have to spend 10 years to finally just feel it.
Mm-hmm. Even understand why they're so much better than you, because it would likely feel like you're losing the same way you'd lose to like a B rank on Fight Kid or your buddy who's pretty good with Ken. It's like you have to be good enough to even know why you suck.
There are levels to losing to these guys too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be really bad and actually get closer to beating Yamada, and then like come back better, and he's like, "Oh, your moves finally make sense now." Now, it's like you get what I'm saying. Like before, you're just random as hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
so
that.
there's
I worked a lot with a lot of Urian players, and I remember as I taught them and they got better, I would beat them worse because my brain understood what they were doing more. It was like, oh, now you're actually within the framework of what the character should be, and I've mapped out that that matchup.
Exactly.
And they would get frustrated, and it's like, no, you're actually moving in the right direction.
That's a huge part of playing to get wins versus playing to demonstrate ability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is the American style. feeling a win and leaving the arcade. Or logging off fight. That's more for the modern viewer.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what? Those players,
you just leave.
Those players are going to be, they're not serious players forever.
No,
you know, they're, as long as you have that attitude, you will never achieve greatness in anything in life, not just Third Strike.
I've always been a fan of this idea that the reason certain players are better than me, and I can say this with confidence in regards to you, you're better than me at Third Strike, it's because you've lost more games than I've probably ever played.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, dude, my win rate in Japan was probably like 33%.
And that win rate, I mean, it's remarkably high considering the level of players you were playing. But the benefit you got out of that, if he was, 77% or something, or you wouldn't get as much out of it. You only win or you learn. I mean, that's sort of a cheesy kind of sports psychology quote, but there's a lot of validity to it. You don't win. I mean, I've had long streaks at next level, and I walk away, and I'm probably worse than I was when I walked in because I've reinforced stupid habits that work on scrubs.
It's so funny that you said that because that brings me back to, went to Maniacs. It was Maniacs in January. Me, Ryan, and Aaron, and
Solid team.
I got to play off. They sent me up, and I lost to Yoko Remy. She's a girl, fantastic player. We got to the third round, and the pressure sunk in for me, and I was like, oh my god, I'm about to lose on stream to a girl. And I lost, and I remember we went outside with Ryan. I looked, and I took a second to gather myself, be ready for all the comments I'm about to come in on YouTube. And I looked at him in the eye, and I said, we can't go out like that. I'm coming back next month. So I wasn't supposed to go back to Japan the month later, but the reason why I did was because Yoko Remy beat me, and I'm like, dude, I can't go out. I can't go out like that. I literally looked them right in the eye, like this. I was just like, can't go out like that, man. Coming back.
It continues a long tradition of American national champions losing to Japanese women. I've heard stories. There was a story many years ago. You may have even been at the venue, but there was a story of a MOV and his girlfriend and her friends just beating the SBO team that America had sent. I mean, sort of like after arcade hours. I don't know if this is Third Strike lore. That's not verifiable.
It was on stream, man. It was on stream.
No, but yeah, I mean this. So I've never lost to a girl, but I've also never played a girl. So
Yeah, dude. So, anyways, a week later, I'm watching Yoko film, and she's beating Tominaga, and she beat Boss in a tournament before too. So I'm like, all right, okay, I don't feel that bad. I don't feel too bad anymore. So she's probably second or third best Remy right now in Japan. That's active. Might be the second best. So she's real deal.
And it actually, earlier you mentioned the Makoto matchup being kind of a sore spot and a challenge for you. I've heard that from the New York players. I mean, Nikiteo and the guys, when they had their really strong run in Cooperation Cup, they were eliminated by a Makoto player. I think it was Chance Makoto. And they came back and they really tried to study the matchup. And there was this understanding that we really don't get this character, that nobody in the United States has really developed a Makoto to the level of Japan. So it's interesting to hear that. But then, with the Remy matchup, where are you going to get this experience in America? The weirdo characters, we can't even scratch the surface.
That's why I lost. That's why I got raped. And by the way, when I went back the next month in February, Manias, I lost to Sukeroku, another Remy, who's I do, for Christ's sake. So I need to hit up Fito or something. Fito!
Yeah, you really only have 2 or 3 names in the U.S. who could even come close to Remy.
We have Fito. Yeah, I don't know anybody else. Yeah,
and that's been a really challenge. I've heard of many Americans going to Japan, and it's not the Yuns and the Kens, it's the Necros and the Abukis, and it's the weirdo.
Oh, yeah. They're all.
It's the weirdo.
It's every character in the game. It's every character in the game. But I wanted to make my point earlier. Why I told a story about where I looked Ryan in the eye, said I was coming back. It's because I lost, right? Ryan said this to me. He's like, if we had got top 8 and we beat a really good team, you probably go home thinking, oh yeah, I'm sick, you're sick already, right? I'm so glad I lost and I had to go back for that extra week, because that extra week really I got so much better in that extra week, and I was able to really. I didn't have to make that adjustment period this time. Like I came off the plane, like I had my legs right off the plane. Like I wasn't jet lagged. I was ready to go. I went straight to versus, going toe to toe with Tominaga. Um, I'm glad I went back. I'm glad I lost so that I didn't feel like I was sick, and I didn't feel like
All growth comes through conflict and friction and overcoming adversity, going through the obstacle, the path of least resistance, playing your buddy who's, a C rank on Fight Kid, going to the same meetup where you're the strongest, not going to tournaments and testing yourself. It's the safe path, but it results in an atrophy of your skills, and you max out. You have to if you want to be a champion, and I know very much in your blood you are somebody who really aspires to be as good as you possibly can be. You have to fight the best players. You can't run from them. And I can speak from personal experience. I have a very fragile ego. Lance knows this extremely well. I don't like to lose. I never have liked to lose. But it wasn't.
That's why we haven't played. That's why we haven't played more games, right?
Well, you live on the other side of the country, but you're the only dude who never fucking played online, which I have to really tip my cap. I mean, I know you have a couple experiences playing online, but you're the only top third strike player in the U.S. who has pretty much zero significant online experience, which is remarkable. But I've always struggled with losing, and it wasn't until I got thrown into, Dice K, Nika, Frankie, just beating the shit out of me and getting to the point where it's like, I'm actually having fun with this. That I don't care. We all know Nika's better than me at third strike. So when I go to sit down at the cab with him, that voice of I gotta beat him or else, it's been beaten out of me. And there's a freedom to it. And that's, I think, where the growth has come for me, where it's just I'm not here to.
That freedom that you talk about is it's like liberation, right?
Yeah.
Like liberation from the mental chains of your ego.
It's like a Bob Marley lyric, liberation from mental slavery.
Right. Once you let go of your ego, that's when you're able to improve as a player.
Mm-hmm. But it keeps coming back. Because the better you get, the better you think you are. And
then you got to go to Japan.
Then you got to.
I'm telling you, you got to make
Kruger effect.
You got to make a trip. You got to make a trip to Japan.
When you first started, I told this story on the podcast when Lance interviewed me. But just the first time I went to Next Level Arcade, or the first time I went to Chinatown Fair Arcade, I thought I was the shit, and I lost every single game. And that's the Dunning-Kruger effect. The newer you are to a skill set, the worse you are at kind of picking where you are in the totem pole. A lot of new third strike players with 2 or 3 years experience really think they are hot shit. And it isn't until the bottom falls out repeatedly when you run into that brick wall. It could be the guy at your local. It could be, at a Jazzy tournament, or it could be Japan. That experience of going, wait a second, I'm actually garbage. That is where the real growth comes from. And that acceptance of the fact, I still have a lot more to learn. That's when you become a master.
Yeah. Even 24 years in, I feel that way. I've opened, like you said, I just hit bottom, and now I'm about to get really I'm about to hit my third or my fourth or fifth rebuild.
Well,
I'm about to be
right on schedule.
5 or 6.
I don't know if you've been watching the news, but This is a pretty damn good year for third strike tournaments. We got Evo Japan, we got Evo, we got the Jazzy Circuit finale. I mean, this is probably the most stacked year in the history of American third strike tournaments. I'm curious to hear where's your perspective at in terms of trying to enter these and win these, because you've been to all the big American tournaments. You've been to all the Jazzies, you went to all the TFCs. You're no stranger to these big events.
Yeah, I will. So I am going back for another month in Japan. That's how. That's. Yeah, I want to play in 2 more Maniacs. I'm very lucky to be able to say this, but when I got there the second time, Match asked me to play. He was at Versus kind of early, so we played for about 2 hours straight, then. Yeah, it's awesome. And then he asked me to be on his team for Maniacs in April.
Wow.
You're like, all right, I got to come back then, right? So we're like, all right, who's our third? And Tominaga was behind him, so he went up to Tominaga and he's like, I'm with Tominaga and Match in April. And then in May, I'm with Yomoto and Mester. So, I mean, I can't not go for this, right?
What do you get if you win a Maniacs?
Nothing. You get to be on the newspaper for the next month.
Oh, that's incredible.
There's a Maniacs
I've
newspaper.
seen the printout. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then what's cool about that is that Maniacs is once a month for the weekend, but it's the whole weekend. So Maniacs, the main event is played on Sunday. On Saturday, they have a beginners tournament. And there's so many like new players like that play Third Strike. It's kind of amazing how many new players that they have over there playing Third Strike, and there's a lot of really good players that are up and coming. And I guess the criteria to be able to enter the beginners tournament is if you've never made top 8 at Coop.
Okay.
So Lance, you're more than welcome to join the beginners tournament.
Yeah.
That's such a high bar. I love that.
Yeah, very high bar.
They could make it never get out of the first round at Coop, and I would still be fine. So.
Yeah, or like if you've never won a beginners tournament. So,
well, there was an interview a few
yeah.
years ago with Genki, and Genki said very confidently that if you have less than 10 years of experience in Third Strike, you're very much a beginner. Like very, very much like a neophyte. Welcome to the game.
Yeah, I had dinner with him. And we played for like an hour or two, like that one of the nights, and we have really good conversations about Third Strike. Great guy. Yeah, he's absolutely right, because I remember going to Japan in 2008 and 2010 thinking that, look, I've been playing this game for 8-9 years. I'm a veteran of this game. And when I came home, like, geez. And then, like 5 years later, after I rebuilt myself a couple of times, like, oh my God, like, I was a beginner at that time, thinking that I was a veteran.
That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. I mean, that's that moment of realization. I mean, I studied philosophy for 1 semester in college, so I don't know much, but I do know the story of Socrates and the Apology. Have you heard this one? So it's fascinating, and I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about. So the Oracle of Delphi in Greece was the mystic, and people would go and talk to this woman who would huff sulfur gas out of the ground, and she would kind of babble, and she would make prophecies. One of the prophecies she made, she said, Socrates is the wisest man in all of Greece. And this somehow got back to Socrates, and he was wondering, how am I the wisest man in all of Greece? So he went around and talked to all of the other philosophers, the intellectuals, the sophists, I think they were called, and he would ask them questions, and eventually they would contradict themselves. He would ask them big questions about the nature of the universe, about God, and he would keep asking them questions until eventually they would say something that would contradict what they said earlier, and he would go, you know what the fuck you're talking about. So after doing this for a couple days, he sat on a rock and he figured out, I'm the wisest man in all of Greece because I'm the only man in Greece who knows that I know nothing.
That's amazing.
Like, that is true wisdom, is when you recognize, like, I don't know fucking shit about Third Strike, and I don't really know shit about the universe or my life or where it happens when I die or where I can't. But like in terms of Third Strike, it's that moment of, you know what, the ignorance is actually a strength because the ignorance allows those holes to get filled by knowledge.
That is exactly what we're talking about here. When I remember, I used to be the other Greeks where I thought I knew shit, and when I thought I knew shit,
right, did you?
When I thought I knew shit, I never got better because it's like I already know everything. Like, what do I need to learn, right? So even if you want to get better, you kind of have to, it's Lance. What do I say? Like, the first thing you got to admit is that you suck dick.
Yeah,
much, right? Like,
no, so Yi's been kind of a teacher for me, and very early on, he kind of instilled these things, kind of, harshly. Yi can be kind of harsh teacher. I had said some offhand comments like, I think like I'm probably like a top 3 Chun-Li in America or something, and he's just like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. You're so fucking bad. I don't want to hear your mouth about how good you think you are ever again. Please don't ever say that to me again. And that was the start of a great relationship.
It was something like that. But look, Lance, that probably helped you a lot. Like
yeah. It was good.
So I work a lot with, I'm a therapist by trade, and I work a lot with people who struggle with drug addiction. And one of the concepts that I think is really effective for people trying to stay sober off of narcotic drugs is this understanding that you don't got this shit, that it's a daily thing. That once you think you figured it all out, you start to slide back into the old patterns. So like we call it a daily reprieve of like every day I'm going to be grateful for what I have. I'm not going to take it for granted. I'm going to kind of do what I need to do to stay sober and stay off of drugs. And it's really the same with Third Strike. It's just like once you think you got this shit and you're hot, you're hot shit, and you start to decay.
The game always humbles you. I'm telling you,
It'll
the
rip your
game
fucking
always
soul out.
humbles you.
Rip your
Yeah.
heart through your ass, man. Nothing has broken. I mean, I learned more through Third Strike than I have almost anything else in my life. Like it teaches life lessons.
I say that all the time. I tell that to my parents. I said I learned more about competing in Third Strike than I did in college, and my dad
Absolutely.
believes it now.
Well, there's truth
Yes.
to it for me, and I would imagine you have a lot of similar experiences. There's something very powerful about putting every fiber of your fucking being into something and failing. Like, that is so humbling. I mean, because I know you, and I would imagine that you guys are all similar to me. Like, I fucking played Third Strike. Like, that's what I did. All day, every day, for fucking years. And then some motherfucker came and just ripped my fucking throat out. And it's like, well, how do I make sense of my life? I thought I was good. And like that process of rebuilding my ego and rebuilding who I am as a person, it's been so unbelievably powerful for my development as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like at the same time, like we shouldn't, like I used to think that way before too, where it's like, oh, someone came in and just, like you said, like ripped my throat out, whatever it is. Dude, just think about like, man, like they put a lot of work into it too. You might not see it. You might not know the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
These guys are grinding.
You can't beat me at Third Strike if you didn't lose lots of time to this game.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. Unless you're let me give a name. Unless you're Kuroda or something. Yeah.
Well, Kuroda gave his whole fucking life. I mean, I at least like had a Kuroda gave everything. Did you ever have an opportunity?
I mean, unless you're Kuroda.
I'm the biggest Kuroda fanboy. Did you ever have an opportunity to meet him or play with him?
Yeah, he beat me at Coop, and it's fucking there for everybody.
It's on. Yeah, it's been on. Yeah. Like 60,000
free we
or
are,
something.
land of the free. I saw one Lance. I saw one comment, and I've never watched that video over again. The first comment up there was "America, land of the free," and I never read another comment again. I'm like, fuck these guys.
That video did more damage to the American Third Strike reputation than any other video.
It's like, hey, listen, whoever the fuck you are making that comment, why don't you go up there and fucking show me how to beat Kuroda, you fucking stupid
fuck.
I
saw Sherwin at Jazzy too, and I put my arm around him and I go, you beat Daigo, and you were one hit away from beating Kuroda. You could have been the
he was very close.
He could have beaten, dude, he could have went Daigo Kuroda back to back.
He could have saved the country from embarrassment. This is all Sherwin's fault. This is all Sherwin's fault. He could have changed the course of American Third Strike history, but thank God he didn't, because that made me want to get better. Thank you, Sherwin. Thank you for doing the most obvious fucking dart shot ever. Anyways,
all right. So here's a question.
Yes.
So you're having this epiphany now, and you're rebuilding yourself again, and you've gone through all this in Japan. Obviously, so I've been to Japan a few times. I was not really at a level to fully appreciate it. I think I went there before I was like whatever. But even from my limited point of view at the time, I always felt like I went to Japan and I have this new perception of the game, and I would come back and write shit down. And like, oh, I just had this fucking smart thought from playing this guy. Write all this shit down. I had plans to come back and like tell my friends about it, and we were gonna like level up together with my new wisdom I brought from Japan. And then within a couple months, it kind of just all faded away. So how do you fight that?
I mean, I'm going to have to figure that out on my own, because, that was my first extended trip where, the previous trips I went on, it was always some kind of event going on. It was Togeki, it was Coop, it was just, madness with all the, I'm going to use gaijins, because that's what we're referred to when we're in Japan. Mm-hmm. It's just gaijins everywhere. So I never really got a chance to, hit that adjustment period that I talked about getting there. And then 2, I never really got to sit down and really play with the Japanese players, which is what I really wanted to do. The way the Japanese players play is they'll, on an off day, they'll ask a player, like, I asked Genki if he would come to Newton to play, because I never played Genki, and I wanted to play a strong Alex. So he came, and it was just me and him on the cabinet. And people are very respectful. They know that, these two players are playing each other. Or when I was at Newton and Match asked me to play, people will respectfully just watch watch you guys play, and then you'll play a set, and then you get what you need out of it, and then whatever, you move on. So I was never able to do any of that on my previous trips into Japan. So this is the first trip that I'm coming home like, wow, okay, I really got a lot. Before it was like I'm there for a week, I'm finally starting to adjust, and I've learned a thing here, I learned a few things here and there. I'm barely tipping the iceberg in that first week. The second and third week is when, okay, all right, now things are making sense. So for me, I think this time is the first time where I've come back and I'm like, okay, I have to keep this momentum. I don't want to revert back to doing whatever I want, getting away with whatever I want. So that's something that I kind of have to figure out now that I'm back. Yeah, because trust me, like there's time. I went to Dawn's like the day I got back just to test out my newfound, my newfound powers, right? And it was great. Like I played. First player I played was Resolve, and you know, very very good player. Trust me. Like
Yes.
when I was playing him, I felt like, man, this guy is better than the Urians that I played in Japan, honestly. Like,
He's a
not
special,
even
special
joking.
player.
Like, yeah, not even joking with you right now. Like, he was guarding my cross up, mix up, guarding a lot of stuff. Where I'm like, how do you guard that?
It's his guard. It's really interesting because it's so easy to look at a player like Resolve and get focused on the offense, but his defense, considering his experience in the game, which is very limited, and his age, which is he's extremely young, the patience. I mean, he really has resolve. Like he really there's something intangible with him. So he came out of my Urian server. I've taught at this point probably 150 different people how to play Urian. Two of them have gotten good, and he's one of them. I mean, no, I'm just
not
kidding.
bad.
A lot of
Yeah.
like in terms of like really, I mean, Resolve is a fucking monster. And I think the only player who would be, and he's not one of my students by any stretch, is this kid Cartola, who I think you saw play in France. He had that very strong run. He actually beat Yamoda in one of the in the team tournament, but he did top 8 in France. But the Urian level, like I don't play much, if at all, anymore, and I'm glad because like these kids, I got a fucking child. I don't have time to keep up with the Joneses here. They can have it. I don't know how you keep doing this after all these years. You want to keep fighting the new breed. They just keep pumping out new kids.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Resolve definitely a very good guard, very good defense. It doesn't make any sense to me how he could be so. His defense is so mature.
So mature. Perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, for a player that's been playing for I don't know
4 years,
10 years or what. I know he hasn't been playing for 10 years. Right,
So he's a beginner.
I know
He's a beginner.
Crazy.
Right. Yeah, for the level, for the amount that he's been playing, his defense is as good as it gets.
It's almost
he's better
like
than Japanese.
It's almost like a Urian master taught him or something.
I'm not. I think obviously, I think that defense can apply to almost every character.
I didn't teach him that defense. I didn't teach him it.
Did you? No, you didn't. That's okay. So yeah, that defense is very.
Defense than me. No, he learned that on his own.
Yeah, very similar to like Kuroda style defense. So yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit for the kid. Yeah.
Somebody clip that and send it to Resolve so he can replay it on loop before he goes to bed every night.
He's probably listening to this right now.
Of course he is. He's my pick, 2023 breakout superstar. And I want to see 2024. I mean, I know it's hard. He's young. It's hard to get to these tournaments.
Expectations. Let's curb the expectations.
Let me finish. I want him to go and have a good time and try the hardest that he can and learn from his mistakes.
Yeah, it'll come. Wins will definitely come, but we can't expect we can't expect them right away. But yeah, defense is very strong, very mature. Offensively, when he plays against me, I feel like he doesn't do anything. He's just kind of waiting for me, and I'm just attacking the whole time. So eventually, I'm gonna open you up. So I came back, and then I was able to use my new powers. I felt so strong playing against everybody.
It's cool to see that it actually translated because the American style is radically different. And I've actually heard people say things like, I don't understand American third strike. They play a lot in Japan and then they come back. Ryan famously said, I don't understand American Chun. But it's like, I'm curious to hear if there was any adjustment back to America.
No, not really. Not really. I guess I haven't played enough to really answer that. Let me play. I only played once when I got back, but let me play a little more. I think I'll have a better understanding of myself and all the adjustments and whatnot.
So you didn't actually
Um,
answer my question from 10 minutes ago. Are you competing in Evo Japan? Are you competing in Evo? Are you competing in the Jazzy circuit?
sorry. Yes, so I
Stop
will be
dodging the
in Japan.
questions, Yi.
I
The
will be
fans
in
deserve
Japan
to
for
know.
Evo.
Oh, you will.
I
Wow.
will be in Evo Japan. Yeah, I will be in
That's
Evo
fucking
Japan, so I'll
sick.
be
That's
there.
the one I care about. That's the one I want to see.
Yeah, yes, that's the one. That's the one that matters. So I'm
That's the
there
one that
from
matters.
beginning of April to middle May. So Evo Japan is the end of April, so I'll be there. Also be there for
Sick.
Two Maniacs.
So sick.
As for Jazzy, I don't think I'll be attending this year
Okay.
because I feel like and this is something I brought up to Mutant before, but I feel like the previous champs should get auto qual into the tournament. It makes no sense for us to have to qualify every year. Like,
So your
why?
argument is to go almost retroactively to season one. So Ryan should get in, Kang should get in, Issa. And so I was thinking, because you talked about this on the Discord earlier, I was thinking you just meant the defending champion, but you mean all the champions.
I feel like it should be like the Masters tournament in golf, where like if you've won a
Oh,
Masters, you should always be able to enter the tournament if you want to. It's not like you don't have to go, but if you wanted to, you should
very
always be
interesting.
able to be in that tournament.
And you
I
suggest
mean,
keeping it at 16 men, or do you now extend the tournament and allow 16 new guys? Like, do you make it a 20-man
I think
bracket?
you have to. Yeah, I think you have to find a way to be able to somehow accommodate the champions in there somehow. I look, I haven't sat down and thought about the exact way
Yeah,
to
but
do
it's a
it.
valid point, and it frustrated me even with season two, Ryan having to claw his way through. And you saw Issei won from last chance qualifier, even though he got second the previous. It's like, I don't know. There's something about kind of prestige. You are a belt holder. You should be able to cash that in to be able to just be in the
Agreed.
tournament. You shouldn't have to get in the trenches again with the riffraff.
I agree. I agree. I really agree with that. And like there's so many they're trying to find so many ways for a diverse kind of players to get in. Like they want to get online players in. They're holding what is that ranking events all over the states.
Yeah.
If you're putting in a lot of effort to be able to accompany these people to try to get into the tournament, why can't you do that for the previous champs that put your tournament on the map? Like Ryan and me and Issei and Ryan and me and Issei. I don't know who the fourth
There was
champion is.
some other
Yeah,
guy.
like yeah, there's another guy. I think there's another guy. Um, like yeah, I feel like there should be a perk in winning this tournament that you should. I think that should definitely be a motivation for the players. Like, look, once you've won this tournament,
You're in
you're
it
going
for
to be
life.
able to be in the Jazzy finale
Yeah,
at all times.
the Masters connection really resonated with me. If you guys don't know, when you win the Masters, you get a green jacket and you're a lifelong. You can play. I mean, there's guys who play in the Masters who are 75 years old and they don't have a chance to win, of course.
Exactly.
But it's an honor to be able to be a lifelong participant in that
That's how I
prestigious
see
tournament.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how
Well,
I think it
it
should be.
really. So Ryan wins season one. He voluntarily comes back for season two. Season two is won by you. You come back for season three. Season three is won by Issei. Issei doesn't come back for season four. And I felt like that really was like a hole, or it's like the defending champion's not even there.
Right. Right. So I feel the same way. Like I don't, I feel like, and this is just my point of view on things. I feel like when you expand the field to include, ranking events and online, whatever it is, if I feel like it takes a little, for me, it takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails for me, like, hey, for me, like, I'm trying to compete with the best of the best. And I don't think some of these guys getting into the field are best of the best. Yeah, I said it. Any problems?
It's almost as if the philosophy of Jazzy is community based first. And like
Yes.
as a competitor, your philosophy is competition based. And it's like you want to
Yes.
see the best of the best compete. But I think Mutant at his core really wants to grow the game. And it's probably very
I
hard to
agree.
find that balance.
It's a tough balance, and I agree with him. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, like obviously, I just came back from Japan, and I have way bigger fish to fry right now than, you know, I don't know. I'm not gonna throw out some names here, but I got bigger
Please.
fish to fry than people at the Jazzy Circuit. So,
Now, the
yeah, I won't.
devil's advocate here. To be fair, so they could easily just say, well, yeah, why don't you just go win an auto qualifier? You can do it. You're a champ. Just go win an auto qualifier. You'll be there. If all the top players would go win auto qualifiers, then top 16 would mostly be players you respect, and then there would be no problem.
I've done that for the last 4 years. Do I need to do it for the fifth year for you to believe that I can do it again? Anyways, yeah, I mean, like I said, once again, it's just like bigger fish to fry. Once again, like yeah, I know there's a tournament in Arizona, and I got bigger fish to fry. Like my eyes are set on a higher prize, not trying to win, a tournament in Arizona. Like I don't care how people take that. Like that's how I feel. I'm trying to win a tournament in Japan.
And we can sugarcoat it all we want. We can talk about Jazzy and the reality, and I think anybody who plays this game seriously knows, Japan is all that has ever fucking mattered. It's all that's ever mattered. It's like if you made the G League comparison earlier, you could talk about a minor league. I mean, we are not the best third strike players in the world. We live on a planet. There's a game that we play. There's a little island of people who are real fucking good at it. We can pretend as if they don't exist and that what really matters is the guy who wins the online qualifier for the Jazzy finale. But the truth is, whoever wins the online qualifier for the Jazzy, that guy is going to get raped. I mean, I can't say that word anymore. He's going to get fucked in his ass by somebody in Japan who has never heard of the Jazzy finale. So, like, if you really want to be the best, and I know you want to be the best, you got to go to Japan and you got to test your mettle against the samurai over there.
Yeah, definitely a samurai game. And then the final one, Evo here in Las Vegas. So I'm 50-50 on this. I might go. A lot of my good friends here want to, they always go to Evo, so chance for me to go hang out.
And not a hard trip
But,
for you, right? You could just drive down.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be doing more gambling than I think playing Third Strike there, but I might be spending the summer in Shanghai, so that's
Exciting.
why. Yes, that's why I might not be there.
Before I get too far off track, I wanted to ask you about this. I'm glad you brought up China because I remember hearing a story. And it wasn't from you directly, but it may have been through Lance. You played Third Strike in China at some point.
Yes.
And from what I heard, you were very impressed with the level over there.
Yeah, so their basic players are better than American players. No namers. Yeah.
You went a long time ago and played, or was this a recent experience?
Since the last time I played there was 2010. I don't think they play anymore. All those guys are married. Yeah. They all have kids. They had kids in 2010. Yeah, but yeah, they're basic players that you've never heard of had way better basics than your average American player.
There was a very famous Urian video out of China, and I ended up getting in contact with the creator. It was one of the most hysterical Third Strike videos I've ever seen. It had the over-the-top editing of like naked men dancing in the background of the stages. Have you ever seen this video? It's like just pure chaos. And
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so that video, when you kind of filter out all the nonsense, which is unbelievably funny, it's actually unbelievable the tech that this guy, I mean, he was showing like back 10, 15 years ago how to do the reverse tackles, how to do all the charge partitioning, how to charge partition before the round even starts, like all of this stuff that nobody in America had put into a YouTube video. And I remember when I was making my tutorials, really citing his sources a lot. And this was just like a random dude in China. So like this game, I would have to imagine the Chinese at some point were very good at it. They tend to be quite good at fighting games when they focus on them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just good play. It's really strange to me. Like there's also Google Maps. Like when I was in Taiwan, I was searching, is there anywhere to play Third Strike? And there's actually Google Maps that shows you arcade locations all over the world with Third Strike. I'm not joking. There's actually a map.
Does the Shend have that? I think.
I'm not sure if it was a Shen, but it's Google Maps and it shows locations where there's Third Strike
I think the
cabinets and
Shen
where you can
had
play
like
that.
a central database of Third Strike cabs.
Okay, maybe it's his. So yeah, that's there. Um, yeah,
So two
so
weeks
they're
ago,
not bad.
Lance, myself, and the Dudley player who will not be named, former Evo champion or Jazzy champion, we talked about Evo, and the reality is that it's not going to be on arcade cabinets, and how this was a big discourse on Twitter. I'd love to hear your perspective. It sounds like you're 50-50 on
Yeah,
going. What role does the hardware play in making that decision?
yeah, sure. Like I think I was in Japan when the announcement was made, and dude, like all the Japanese players messaged me saying, "Wow, Evo Las Vegas has Third Strike." Like they were very excited to hear that. So,
Yeah.
so I will. I guess I can kind of. Nah, should I? Nah, I'm not gonna say it. Well, I know players that are coming, and I don't
Okay.
want to. I don't want to say it because they might
Well,
not come last
if
minute.
it's good enough for them, is it good enough for us? Is it good enough for you? I mean, the Evos of the
I don't want to
past
start
were
any
always.
rumors. I don't want to start any rumors, but yes, there are guys on the previous the previous Cooperation Cup winning team that are planning to come to Evo in Las Vegas. They're all very excited, and
That's pretty
I
big development. You heard it here first in the Lance and Ray podcast.
yes,
I was
you heard
very
it here
curious because
first.
I saw the rumor is, people were very excited coming out of Japan about this tournament.
Yeah,
And Japan has dominated Third Strike Evo since
yeah,
I don't know, has an American ever won outside of Justin and Issei teaming up? Has American ever won Third Strike Evo? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't even think they've even
Have
been.
you played in one?
I don't even think they've been grand finals. No,
I
I
know
don't think so.
Pyro played in one, I think, and I know the old school. I mean, how much this is true? So it's funny to have you here because you can answer this question. There's a kind of general sentiment that I've heard over the years that FFA during the peak had this kind of elitist attitude. We're a colony of Japan. We don't play in the console tournaments. How much of this was like a genuine feeling? How much of this was kind of a joke with the Mongolia stuff that Pyro was, pushing? Like,
Yeah,
did you guys really like? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, definitely a combination of both. It was funny, but it also kind of like, yeah, there was definitely like an elitist attitude. You know, uh, of course, we always thought that Third Strike should be played on cabinet. Listen, like I'm 20 years old at the time. Pyro's like 21. We're kids at the time, We're kids, and you know, if I could go back and do it all over again, with what I know now, yes, I would probably not have done what I did back in the day. But at the time, I felt like there was a big kind of like discord between the guys that are running Evo and the next generation of players, which was us, Third Strike, and that's why Third Strike players have had a bad reputation, was because of that strain between us and the organizers at the time. And that's why you see, like, when Street Fighter 4 came out, it wasn't just us that made mistakes, like the organizers made a lot of mistakes. Like, I'm not gonna throw out names, but yeah, they rigged brackets against us to make sure that we don't make it very far. Like, they didn't like us very much. So when Street Fighter 4 came out, they were, so as wrong as we were to complain and be elitist and be children and childish about the way that Evo ran Third Strike, the organizers on their end didn't really do their part either. It was, it went both ways. So when Street Fighter 4 came out and there was a new group of players that started playing, the organizers kind of like took that as a chance to redeem themselves, and that's why, like, Evo got bigger and bigger because they started catering to the SF4 players, because back then the organizers were still kind of like younger and they were still competing. So because we were, better than them, whatever it is, they had problems with it, and that's where a lot of your discord comes. So for me, with Third Strike being back in Evo, I wish nothing but the best. I hope it goes great, and I think it's going to be a great tournament because I trust the Evo staff. They've done well with almost all the tournaments. I know, unfortunately, it's not going to be on cabinet. But hey, listen, like, it's going to be tough to get that many cabinets into Evolution. I know everybody has suggestions. Well, just do this and just do that. Well, let's just be realistic. Like Super Guns is probably the most realistic way to go about it. And listen, like I had conversations about Evo Las Vegas being on Super Guns and on cabinets with Japanese players. Yeah, they were disappointed, but that's not going to stop them from coming. If anything's going to stop them from coming, it's the cost of the trip and taking time off from work. But the fact that the tournament's not going to be run on Super Guns. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not going to be run on cabinet. It's not going to be the reason why they don't come. And I think we, for those that are complaining about it, should take the same approach as the Japanese players are.
A very balanced take. Very, very balanced and nuanced and mature take on the situation. Radically different from the 3-hour podcast we did 2 weeks ago. It's like, it's not on cabs. This shit's fucking bullshit. Don't go. Don't go. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I'm kidding. Yeah, actually, I don't mind it either. It's just realistic, and
no, it's
and I think like
you could never run this 500 person to 1,200 person tournament.
It's impossible, right?
It's impossible.
How are you gonna? Yeah, and it's like maybe for top 8 they roll out some cabinets, but I just don't think it's realistic, and it's obviously it'd be great, but I really feel like that would be the Evo staff really going out of their way, and it just doesn't seem necessary in my opinion. It'd be great, but it just seems like that's just really going out of their way logistically for things. And I think a lot of people these days, like they have their own sticks, that's kind of like an important part that I'm starting to understand now about the new generation of players is they probably prefer to play on their own sticks, so you want to be able to have that plug.
What the kids are doing these days. And, you came in here, there were rumors you were going to be controversial. I'm going to throw you a softball here. What is your take on hitbox?
Does he know what a hitbox is?
You know what a hitbox is?
I don't even know how it works, to be honest.
So a hitbox, instead of a lever, it's all buttons.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't know what advantage it gives you. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if I can. I don't know. I've never played against somebody on a hitbox.
Okay.
So I can't really say.
Well, if you show up at Evo, and you look to your left and the guy doesn't have a stick, he's just got buttons. Just know he's going to be real hard to hit. I mean, imagine being able to block instantaneously without having to move at all. I mean, it's just to parry with no recovery. When they do super, they just do super like CPU. There's no ducking animation. It's just do and their character just explodes into a super from standing.
That sounds kind of broken. But
I'm warning you, if you go to Evo and the dude doesn't have stick, or the girl, because I know you have a history of playing and losing to girls. If the guy doesn't have a stick, it's going to be real. She's going to be hard to hit.
So Kang was talking. So I witnessed a conversation. Kang was talking to someone about like, on hitbox you can go from parry to block with no neutral frame in between, and it's not possible on stick. And the person didn't believe them at the time, and so then they went to test it. And at the end, they were like, "Oh no, you're right. Like it's impossible to not have a neutral frame when going from parry to block on an arcade stick, but it's very possible on a hitbox." So I found that fascinating. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got on that one.
So I mean, I guess for as little knowledge as I have about hitbox, I don't think it should be allowed.
Sure.
For third strike.
Yeah, Dan kind of led you there, but we'll take that. We'll take that position. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. We got him.
Yeah. You know what? Let's be honest. I never liked that piece of hitbox to begin with. Excuse me. Sorry.
I never liked that. Wait, I've never played on a console before.
Yeah, dude. I don't even like all you online players. You guys all suck dick.
There we go.
Hide behind your computer. Hide behind your computer. Come see me on stage one day at Jazzy Circuit. Whoops, never mind. You guys will never make it there.
Good. Okay.
That was always my shit talk to people. It's like, oh, just see me in the Jazzy finale. Like, oh, you want to run the set? Just yeah.
Yeah. Too bad. You'll never be there.
Okay.
No.
You'll
So
never be.
taking
Yeah.
us a step, I want to follow up on that one a little bit. So we talked about earlier. You're like, I don't want to enter Jazzy because Japan's the real prize. That's where the best Third Strike is played, and also don't agree with some of the details about how it's run. So here's my question though. So if you think about it, you had all this success in Japan, and America's always tried to take a lot of knowledge from Japan, but all of us are built in America, and don't we have some aspect of this community that we owe that to, right? Like if you had been born in Australia instead of America, right, would you be able to go to Japan and compete with Mamora and so on? And my question is, do we then not owe that to the next generation of players? To because that's kind of my feeling now. Like these days, I'm not as motivated to compete as I used to, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Jazzy because I remember 5 or 6 years ago, I fucking wanted to beat the New Yorkers. Those were who were on my radar. I was like, Nika, Frankie, all the New York guys, I want to beat them. So I had my bullseye on them, and I really know that was very motivating for me. And now I think like, probably there's people who want to beat me up, and I should, when it's like in wrestling, right? On your way out, you got to lay down and you got to put someone else over, right? It's my time to put someone else over.
Yeah.
Lance, let's be honest. You love competing. You love going to these tournaments. You absolutely live for it. So I don't want to hear that crap about you taking a step back and not being competitive anymore. Nobody believes that.
But okay. Then to my question though, do we not owe it to each other? As the American Third Strike scene, because and here's another element of this all. I remember, to me, a modern American Third Strike starts with the lead up into TFC 2016, and one of the big parts of that is like, oh, Yee's on board, which means SoCal's on board. Mutant and Nika from New York, and Kang is doing. Everyone's kind of coming together into this collective thing, and then it builds year after year, and it took collective buy-in from a lot of people, a lot of top people, right? And
Right.
to me, it's like you guys have built something so great. Like right now it's like Jazzy is running it, but this was a endeavor that was built by a lot of people,
Right.
and don't we all owe it to each other to keep it going?
Yes. Yes, I agree. And the demands of the champs haven't been met. So we're holding out.
It's a contract negotiation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
gotcha.
You're here to please, right? You want to please all the players. You want to please the online community. You want to please you want to please and nurture the smaller communities. What about the champs?
What about the
Right?
champs?
What about the champs?
What about the champs? Huh? What about the champs? Hey, Lance, how do you think Jazzy? Let me ask you this: how's the Jazzy tournament without me, Issei, and Ryan in it? How does that feel?
That's a tournament I might actually be able to win.
Right, that sounds way better for me. I could be a Jazzy
That's idiot. You're white. You guys are white. That's such a white answer. That's such a white answer.
No, of course. No, I mean that's of course. It requires buying from everyone, and everyone being missing. You would feel it, right? I want to play the. I've always hinged my travel on like, okay, how many really good players can I play? That's true.
Yeah, I feel like the champs, the ones that have won, deserve a little bit more respect to not have to be in last chance qualifiers every single time, right? Like we should be able to walk in with our belts and be like, oh, those guys are going to be playing tomorrow. Those guys are going to be playing in the finale. So yeah, like you said, it takes collective effort. So I represent
Willy Wonka himself and present your
golden ticket. Exactly, Willy Wonka's golden ticket, and I represent all the champions right now. We are not attending until we get the auto club.
All right, so I was mostly going to leave the chat questions for the end, but I do have a question here from Mutant.
Unionized. We need a union buster. Oh, Mutant's here. We can talk directly to the commissioner.
Yes, we have a question from Mutant. I was going to leave the chat questions for the end, but Mutant had a relevant question. He says, hey, so the Nuggets won the title last season. Does that mean we just let them skip the regular season this year?
Oh, this is a great argument. Let's see. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, let's hear your a little bit of back and forth.
It's not, it's not the same, it's not the same thing. I'll have to think about it and give a response.
All right. Yeah, maybe this can be an ongoing dialogue that goes beyond our little podcast here.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll have an answer for that. But For now, I'm gonna answer him with this. Like, let's see how your tournament goes without your star players. Let's see what happens when your star players sit out. Yeah, let's see how ratings. Let's see how ratings go without your star players.
All right.
I have an option here. So the amount of Jazzy champions is growing year after year. There hasn't been a repeat champion. There could be the potential, maybe not this season, but the season after, when you have 5 or 6 guys, to do a tournament of champions, something where you really crown the Super Jazzy 9,000 champion. But that's a compelling argument from Mutant. The season starts over. You get to wear your little. I mean, when you're the champion, don't you get to wear like a little badge, or you get you get a banner in the rafters? But it's 0-0. Season starts. It's.
I think it's a little different when you're comparing the NBA, right? Because there's roster moves, in the middle of the season. The teams are not the same. And the other thing about pro sports is, especially when it's an athletic competition, is that people get older. I only get better with age. So, Denver Nuggets 2023, 5-star Denver Nuggets 2023 isn't as strong as 2024 5-star Denver Nuggets. So even more of a reason for me to automatically be in the bid.
All right. I look forward to this being an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, their lawyers are going to sort this out.
Yeah.
There's still time.
We have plenty of months before the finale.
Yeah, we'll definitely sort this out.
Okay. Great. So now I've got just some chat questions going to throw your way. A various seriousness, but a few questions from the chat. So Nika KO asks, important question: why the switch to white Ken from green Ken and then back to green?
Nika, I didn't know you cared about things like this.
Important.
Yeah. So I mean, like, at first, I guess I idolized Deshken, so I was always green, and then I felt like when I turned white, I'm like, you know what? This is like the second phase of my rebuild. So I want to be myself. So white was like kind of like, symbolizing a change. It was like Kobe going from 8 to 24.
Mm-hmm. You're a white man
and
at
then,
your core, which I've been saying for years. You're a white man like Lance and myself. Welcome.
Yeah, and then I realized I was a white man like these guys, and I went back to green. No, but I just think that, I don't know. I guess one day I just felt like this is who I am, and enough with the rebuilds. I'm gonna go back to who I am, which is the original color. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember I watched, and I don't even know if this is still on YouTube, but it was like Dr. Sub-Zero interviews you and Rennick. It was like part of the Dogface show, and instead he interviewed you both. And you talked about everything I have is white now. I own white shoes and a white car.
I had a white car. You had a white car, and I had white shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have a white girlfriend, but
yeah, that's the missing piece. And you tried to find one, and TFC years. I remember you looking for a Southern Belle, so you made your attempt.
I did.
As long as you don't get a green girlfriend, I think your life's going to play out just fine.
Yeah, I'm looking for a green girlfriend.
She's out there.
Yeah,
I believe.
You kind of touched on this already, but Flex Money asks, who is the player who gave you the most trouble in Japan this time, and who is the player that surprised you the most?
Well, so Yomoda is really, really strong versus Ken. Like, it's almost impossible to beat him with Ken. Like, Ken can't beat him. I asked Boss can't beat him, and so he definitely gave me the most trouble in terms of a single player. All the Chun-Li players are hard. Like, Michael's really tough. Who surprised me the most? So yeah, like, I think all the, obviously I'm a Ken player. The Ken player, I'm always looking at, who, like, my peers in terms of Ken. Yeah, Shinta's probably the best Ken player I played in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, very. I didn't think it was going to be Shinta, but yeah,
sure,
Shinta Ken.
Now Shinta Ken was so famously, Nuki was preparing for Deshiken's first to 10, and he played Shinta to to prepare, right? And I guess at the end, supposedly the story goes that he told Shinta, "Oh, you were actually harder than Deshikin."
Wow.
Yeah. So I heard he goes toe to toe. I heard he goes like almost 50-50 with Deshikin. So, and I did pretty well myself. So all
Nice.
right.
Yeah, not bad.
I wanted to just point out Flex Money was in the Jazzy combo competition, and he made an incredible combo video. Kissed by a Rose, the Dudley combo video. Lance, you've seen this, right?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's really a remarkable piece of
Remarkable.
art. So you guys haven't seen Flex Money's combo video, Kissed by a Rose with Dudley. It's just truly magical. Thank you.
I'll check it out. I've seen enough Dudley combos done to me, so
I can guarantee you've never seen a combo video quite like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nomad Noah asks, are there other things in Five Star's life that inform his approach to fighting games, or I guess Third Strike specifically in this case? So I don't think you play any other fighting games.
I don't play any other games. Not really. I think it's actually the other way around, where Third Strike. I use Third Strike to help me understand a lot of things in life more than I use life to understand things in Third Strike.
Sure. Okay.
I want to kind of expand on that question because I think there's something there. The Dudley player who cannot be named and you both like to gamble just a little bit. And I'm curious to hear what, if any, influence your wagering history has had on your Third Strike. Because it is a game that on some level requires gambles and risk reward.
So this is such a good question. You know why Michael Jordan is a terrible gambler? You know why he's lost so much money? Charles Barkley. You know why? These guys, and I applied it to myself when it comes to gambling. I'm like, why do you keep doing this? Because gambling is the hardest game you'll ever have to try to win at. And because of our competitive nature, we're always trying to beat these crooked casinos.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the hardest. Gambling is the hardest thing ever to win at. And that's why Michael Jordan is addicted. That's why Charles Barkley is addicted. These guys are so good at everything else, but they can't beat these casinos. And that's why they keep coming back. And I'm the same way. I'm just so competitive. I want to fucking win.
Yeah.
And, gambling is one way to kind of really touch that competitiveness because it's a really hard game to win. As for the actual aspect of gambling and Third Strike, like risk reward, yes, Third Strike, as I've explained this to many people in simple terms, Third Strike is math. It's making decisions, calculated decisions, probability. Every move, every button is a mathematical probability equation. It's what are the likeliness this move is going to succeed? What's the likeliness this move doesn't succeed? What's the likeliness this move gets countered? What's the best option to use in this situation? Mm-hmm. That's what Third Strike is. It's continually doing math. That's why that's why Asians are good at this game.
Yeah. No, you'll get no
argue.
Get no debate here. I'm well on record as saying white people are very weak at Third Strike. It's to the point where we probably need a little bit of a boost. I think that we should just get seeded
triple
a couple
elimination.
rounds. Yeah, we should get one more chance. I think
for the triple elimination bracket for white people for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean we're in the era of diversity and inclusion, and it's like, guys, we need help. Like I really think that a little affirmative action for Whitey over here. We're struggling.
I mean, like I've seen you white guys play, and I know for sure you guys have put in a lot of work to get to where you are.
I appreciate you noticing because it's been an uphill battle.
Lack of natural talent. It's all hard work and thinking it through.
Easy. Yes, I know, man. I've been playing a lot of white guys. Let's go all the way back to like Nice Guy Mark to Farai.
Who's the greatest white Third Strike player in history?
Oh man, are we including Europeans or no?
White boys.
No.
White boys. American, homegrown.
White boys.
White boys, man, that's tough. Oh man.
Because from what I remember
Lance,
hearing,
you're definitely up there.
yeah,
Mm,
Lance is
I
up
got Lance. I got Steelhammer and Lance definitely up there. Definitely in the top five.
nice.
Oh, let's not. I'm not gonna name. I'm not gonna name one player. Let me give you my top five.
Yeah,
I'll give my
top five
top
favorite
five.
white guys.
All right. Lance, Steelhammer, Rennick.
Yep.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got Rennick up there. Uh, gosh, I don't want to. I don't want to miss anybody here.
So Pyro
I think
is half Mexican, correct?
who?
Pyro Lee.
Oh, Pyro, of course, Pyro.
Is
Yes, Pyro.
is he
Is-
100% white?
He is half. He is half.
I think it's
He
the
is half,
half
but-
that plays young.
Okay, let's. Well, I mean, Mexicans aren't known for math either, so.
There's some people I feel like
For
don't
me-
count as white for purposes of this question. For instance, Yuki is half white, but would I say, oh, Yuki
Okay,
has
okay.
the
No
shortcomings?
half.
Yeah.
Okay, pure
Pure-
bread, pure
pure-
bread white. Okay, Lance, Steelhammer, Rennick. I really like Therapist or the Rapist.
Yeah,
yeah,
Get
he's
his
good.
name.
He's
Yeah,
good.
Yes,
player.
I
I got
will
those.
put
I got those
myself.
four.
Therapist is, and he's also the whitest out of any of us.
He's super white.
He's
Yeah.
so white.
God, I need one more. Oh gosh, Makoto Mike. How can
Sure,
I?
yeah.
How could I
mommy.
forget that one? Right?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
so
cooperation.
That's
cup team.
my that's my top five best white players. I'm sorry for the ones that I had to leave out. There were some other ones on my mind,
There's
but
still time. There's still time.
Yep.
yeah, but that's my
Look
Mount Rushmore for the white boy third strike team. If we were ever to do mutant, I got something for you. We need to have this. We need to have a team tournament. 5 Asians versus 5 white boys versus 5 halfies and versus basically we run the you know what I'm doing here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The lawyers are going to sort this one out. Too.
Yeah. We called this.
Yes, I got my top 5 Latinos already. I got Nika KO. I got FM.
Yeah.
I got Frankie. And I remember like random teams at Jazzy. They had a Frankie, FM, and Resolve on the same team.
Ooh.
And then they were like, hey, "You're Latino, right? You're Latino." And Frankie's like, "What? You eat tortillas? Then that means you're in, right?" Like, so that's the criteria. You eat tortillas, right? Then you're So we got this will be a banger. That'll be an event, right?
That'll get you to come back.
That'll get me to come back to
Third
prove my
strike
point.
race wars.
Yes, Third Strike Race Wars. Yes. So I guess it'll be me, Issei. I guess I'll take Kang. We'll take some of these guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one, right?
It would be. Yeah.
See which-
Maybe that's what we need for you to come to Jazzy this year. A promise of Third Strike Race Force.
Yeah. Oh, what do you guys think about that? That's
I've
dude,
been
even
advocating for this for years.
We need to settle it. We need to settle which race is the strongest at Third Strike in the States. There's too much diversity here. In Japan, who's the strongest. The Japanese are. But here in the States, we got a lot of colors here.
Yeah, I do feel like Hispanic versus Asian will be grand finals, right? That's most likely.
I mean,
But I would love to see what some of the rest of us can conjure up. Who knows? Maybe an upset. Yeah.
Yeah, the white guys team can't be taken. Can't take them lightly.
Yeah.
I have the white team finishing last.
yeah, we do too.
We do. Yeah. No. That's how the seating is. Okay. Oh, Sunny has a question. What were some of your biggest gameplay takeaways from your recent trip to Japan? Was there anything specific you changed about your game?
Yeah, just play less. I play less off of my reactions, and my neutral guard is a lot stronger. Just rely more on my neutral. It's neutral is already one of my strengths, so now I rely more on it instead of always just trying to force the issue. I'm always trying to fight somebody before, like I'm always trying to get in and fight. But now it's like, you know what? I don't really have to do that every time.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you're like, oh, like I like to fight in the middle. I want to meet a fight, and all these cowards who play me in tournament, they're just afraid to face me in the middle of the screen.
Yes. So yeah. I feel like I do feel like in casual games, especially when I played like Shinta, I had something to prove. Like I wanted to prove I can play at his level. So we were fighting. Like because I know I'm not going to earn his respect unless I fight at his level, right? And it's like here when players play me and they're playing like cowards, just running away, trying to sneak wins and hits here and there, Lance. Players like that, even if you win, like you're not gonna earn my respect. Yeah, you won, but that doesn't earn my respect. Like you earn my respect fighting me, like fighting my kind of style. It's like I kind of think about it like a heavyweight championship fight for the belt, right? Like the challenger is always at a disadvantage. He has to not he has to win. He can't like just do the bare minimum. The
Yeah,
champ can do the
you gotta
bare
beat
minimum,
the champ
right?
to be the champ. You gotta
Exactly. And
beat
so if
really
it
want.
goes to a draw, what happens? The champ keeps the belt. So
Always.
that's I for me when I go to Japan, the reason why I'm always trying to fight is because I want to prove a point to them. Like, hey, like, look, I can play at your level. Even like I sacrifice winning at times just to try to do something sick, just to prove to them I can play sick and win at the same time. But that earns me more respect than just winning games by being a coward. And that's how I approach the game. I don't expect everybody to follow my advice, but that's how I approach the game.
It's a very similar philosophy to what I heard Daisuke talk about. He plays SA1 Ryu to express himself, and he really finds beauty in the game mechanics, and the kind of character of Ryu has allowed him to really show all of his creativity. And the wins and the losses, they come and they go, but what really matters at the end of the day with this game is like, are you sick?
Yes. So I was this you're so right about this, and I was playing boss Ken and Genki was watching, and then boss misses fear shoryuken, and then I do the greedy move where I press crouching strong when the shoryuken's up in the air so I can get extra meter, and then
Yeah.
when he came down I accidentally jumped and missed the combo and I died, and then I turned to Genki. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, but he's like, that's third strike. You have to be sick.
Hmm.
And so the Japanese absolutely recognize that aspect of it. And to bring you back about how, like, you're talking about how Daisuke is talking about, Ryu SA1 showcases his creativity. For me, playing Third Strike is art. Like everything I do, you know, whether it's my antics before the match starts, whether it's my antics during the match, whether it's my play, it's art for me. Like I'm performing. It's all an act. It's not just playing the game to win or lose. Like there's more to it. All these other guys, they're just hitting buttons trying to win the game or lose the game. To me, this is art for me. Every piece of it is, yeah.
And I think that explains pretty clearly why you've had a 24-year relationship with the game. It's not really about the wins and the losses. It's about something much deeper. And for some of us, it's the community. For some of us, it's the expression, of our, kind of innermost selves through competition. But the game, when played at a high level, is objectively beautiful. And like to be able to be in one of those matches, like I remember playing in the Jazzy circuit, being in a match and just kind of being like, wow, I'm like co-creating this right now. Like I'm in the people are watching this the way that I've watched thousands of videos. And like I'm the dude I'm the Urian in the
God.
match.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like, look, like that. Like, you ever watch like two bad players play Third Strike? It is like the ugliest game ever, right?
Or like if you watch
Right.
CPU versus CPU and like the loading screen and everything, it's just like the game looks awful
That's
unless
it.
it's being piloted by real players.
And I think that's why the game took a while to get going here in the States because it's a very difficult game to play. You're a beginner 10 years in, and it's terrible game if you watch like beginners play, right? But when you're good and the other player on the other side is good, and you're both like, you're both there to showcase your abilities. That's what you're saying. Like when you were on stage and you're in grand finals, or you were making that run to the grand finals, like that was your palette, right? Like that was everything. Your personality, like uh, I don't know, you're screaming something. I don't know what the hell you're
I don't
screaming, but
know.
like,
I basically blacked out. But even losing that tournament, because for years I really had only put my kind of my ego on wins and losses. But I lost that tournament, and I did not walk out of there feeling like a loser at all because it was the first time I was ever able to like truly be free while playing. And like I was free in multiple ways to Issei, but I was free, I was free in a pure sense in terms of like my relationship with the game. And
Yeah, it's all about having fun. I think that's also another thing I realized while I was in Japan. Like, man, these guys are having fun, man. Like,
yeah,
dude, I remember like when I lost to Yoko, I was so down. I was like, I mean, if you could like, I mean, if there was a camcorder in my face to see my reaction after I lost, it's probably like, just like soul crushing
yeah,
defeat,
yeah,
right? Yeah, but like, you know what? I realized, dude, these Japanese players, uh, they also benefit from having a lot more events than us. And so when we're at events, we take things a lot seriously because
oh for sure.
they're so far. They're so far in between. In Japan, they're having events like every month. They have Tozaisen every month. They have new singles every week. I'm sorry, there's things like every week. So there's less pressure to win or lose, and plus everybody's good. So you have like more of a chance to just have fun, and that's
Yeah,
why like you see the level of play there is so much higher because guys aren't nervous. Like it's
yeah.
okay to lose. Yeah, have fun, show out is what this game is all about.
One of the most powerful moments I had playing Third Strike was I'm playing and unconsciously my body is tense, and Frankie just put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "Just have fun." And like the release of the tension, you just play better when you're not locked up. And you'll see that, people playing in tournament, there's that kind of classic idea of everyone gets defensive and everybody kind of creeps to the corner. But the person who's free, and like you were very, very loose and free in your run to win, Jazzy too. You were absolutely having fun. I'm sure it was the time of your life. I know when I was having my run,
Yeah,
it was like a flow state. I was barely even existing.
yeah. That's very important to like I think a lot of players what they get wrong is like they feel like once they get into a tournament like you said they lock up, you got to play perfect. Let me ask you this: when have you played perfectly your whole life? Never. So what is that? What is going to start today? Just because you're in a tournament, it's
Yeah.
2 out of 3, ready set go. You're going to play perfect? No, you're not. So like you're going to make mistakes, right? Just like you've done your whole in my whole 24 years of playing Third Strike, I've made mistakes. So what's going to stop what like suddenly I'm in top 4 or grand finals and I'm going to start playing perfectly without mistakes and I'm going to beat myself up every time I make a mistake because
Mhm.
I'm supposed to play perfectly on this stage? No, you're not. So just relax. Mistakes are going to come. So I got a lot better at controlling my emotions in the game as well
Mhm.
while I was in Japan. Dude, trust me, these guys are going to say no to you a lot and you're going to have to deal with it and not be like, fuck, like, so that's another thing that I really benefited a lot from while I was in Japan.
Yeah, trying to remember why I got into the game initially was very useful for me. Because as the relationship with the game changes, you start winning, you start losing, you start getting a name, you start feeling you have to beat this guy, you can't lose to that guy. It gets distorted. And if you can get back to the first principle of like, why did you find this game interesting? And for me, it was the Daigo parry and playing on a Dreamcast on a pirated disc with my buddy, doing full screen dash punches with Yun and mashing 360s with Hugo, and having the time of our lives. And then it became more and more serious, and why I started kind of faded away. And it wasn't until Jazzy, that I was able to re-tap into that. And, I was probably the rustiest I've ever been, but I was the best I've ever played because I was finally unchained from this kind of sense of I
Yes, yes,
had to
yeah,
prove something.
yeah, yeah. And it doesn't happen every time. Trust me, I want to unchain myself all the time. Doesn't it? Doesn't always
Oh, yeah,
come
you
out,
can't.
but
Yeah, force
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
There's this feeling I
But no,
think
you got to
of
make.
like being afraid to lose that you often have to fight against, especially in
Mm-hmm.
tournament.
Yeah, I think a lot of people play not to lose versus playing to win.
Yeah.
Um, and it totally shows in players play. Like when a player plays to win, you can tell like by the way their approach, their moves, like they're trying to win. And then there are players that are just trying to play the safe move. Guess what? The safe move in Third Strike is going to get you killed.
Because the safe move's the obvious move.
Yes, it's an obvious move, exactly.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you a few rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna call it a podcast. Okay. First rapid fire question: what is your Dream Five Cooperation Cup team made up of your 5 best American best friends or best players or whatever, however you want to answer it?
Yeah, yeah, damn. All right. Me,
Yeah. Okay.
Pyro,
Sure.
Nikeo,
Yeah.
Yuki Spencer,
Mm.
Ryan.
Yeah. Pretty
Oh,
pretty broken team.
that's the team. I mean, that's the team.
That's
What is that? So that's
yeah.
Ken.
No, I don't even. I don't have to think twice about that team. So
It's Ken,
yeah.
Yun, Chun, Yang, and
Two
who's the
Yuns.
last?
There's two Yuns. Yeah.
Two
Too
Yun.
young.
Yeah. Good team.
Yeah.
Um.
Very good team.
Okay. Okay. Aliens have come down, and they are going to kill you unless you can choose one person who's going to play Third Strike first to one for your life. Who are you choosing to save your life? They have to win one game no matter what.
This is like what, an American player?
It has
or
to be
like a
American. Yeah, the
player?
Japanese are all dead already. They all lost. So it's
Who is he playing against?
an alien. Yeah, the aliens who's really good at Third Strike.
Like, give me a level of this alien.
Oh,
Jeez,
they're
man, this
very
is tough.
talented. Yeah, they're I don't know.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're a B rank on fight.
They're
Games. I don't know if you know that. But
They're-
they're
yeah.
a high level.
You need one person to win one great game of Third Strike to save your life.
Justin Wong.
All right, no,
I love the answer.
that's a great answer actually.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
He has
Justin,
killed so many
please.
aliens.
Let's go, Justin. Save my life, please, Justin.
No,
Could you imagine Justin getting parried?
yeah, no.
The aliens just parrying him?
He would
As they
would
cut
do it
your
on
head
purpose
off?
for the content, and his life would
Of
be
course.
forfeit.
And he would make that face. He'd go like this. He'd go,
Justin, not like this. Please skip a frame or lag or something.
5-star gets decapitated by aliens. That's the
So
time-
so,
that's the-
when I
that's
was-
the thumbnail.
I was in Japan. Michael, who's the top chun now, he asked me, funny guy, great guy, hilarious. He asked me who the 5 greatest chuns of all time. He loves asking me this. He's like,
Great
"Hey,
guy.
I'm Michael. I'm a famous player. Tell me the top 5 chuns." So I'm like, "All right, MOV, Nuki, Rikimaru, of course,
Yeah, of course.
Shirokuro."
Mhm.
And I look straight at him, and I'm like, "Number 5 is," and he's like, "Michael, and I'm like, "Justin Wong."
Oh.
Got him with the Justin.
Michael's very impressive. So he was the top Street Fighter 4 Ken player, from my understanding, in the Japanese arcade system. He had,
Yes, he
he
was.
had
Yes.
so many
Very famous.
points. Very famous. And then, I mean, you would probably know better than me, but did he just pick up Third Strike like later in life? Was he a lifelong
Yeah,
player?
so he started with SF4, and then he liked Third Strike, and now look at him now. Yeah.
Dude, what he did to Show in that first to 10.
Oh, I don't think I watched it, but
That was Michael versus Show, right? Very lopsided.
I don't remember. I think so. I think you're right.
Sure. Yeah. Something I wanted to kind of follow up on a little bit as well, and we kind of already have gone over it, but just to clarify. So a lot of people say, in tournament you should play your best, but in casuals you're playing to improve. But that's not exactly what you're saying. You're saying, like, I've often gotten the sense from you that casuals are about like playing the right way, or playing to be sick, or playing to impress your opponent. Like you've said before, like, oh, if someone comes to SoCal and beats me twice in a row, but with this so desperate moves, right? They use all their desperate moves right at the beginning. I'm not going to be impressed. I'm just not going to care. Like it doesn't matter to me if you win. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that whole philosophy.
I think for me, like in Third Strike, whether it's casual or tournament, casual is a chance for me to definitely improve at the game. That's how I approach casual games. You're not going to get, you're not going to get my tournament game face in casuals. But every game I play is an opportunity for me to do something sick. That's very important to me, is being sick, because if I continue to be sick, I'm continuing to get better, because that's the only way you're going to be sick is if you try to get better, do sicker things, right? Like, I mean, kind of stupid way to say it, but yeah.
Okay, cool. When are we playing Left 4 Dead again?
Never. I'm going to Japan. Oh, I do want to hit you guys all off with the going to Japan etiquette.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the reason why I avoided going to Japan during like a Coop week or an event week was because, Lance, like you said, like when you go to Japan during Coop, what happens? Describe the scene for me.
Yeah, for sure. And this kind of changed over time that I went. My first year it was not this way, right? Because there weren't as many foreigners coming. But now that all foreigners kind of go in mass, you often find yourself, unless you know the right guy and you kind of get into the secret, the secret meetup, you basically end up going to Newton and just playing all the other foreigners, right? I'll be at Newton and I'll be like, hey, there's the Austin guys. Hey guys, I know you guys. And there was one moment in particular I remember. So there was like mostly foreigners there. All the Japanese got somewhere else to play. Match actually comes to Newton. He walks down the stairs. I watch him. He looks around. He just walks back upstairs and leaves. Like they were just not interested.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because like the etiquette of America. I'm only going to speak for Americans because I'm American and I've seen this in myself. My first year there, I remember the first year there. Like I was there, and eventually I saw them bring out a new cabinet for Boss and AO and Nuki, and that's when I dubbed the term Big Boy Cabinet. That's where I dubbed the term Big Boy. That's their Big Boy Cabinet.
Which has spread. I mean, that's something that was commonly said in New York. The Big Boy Cab, get off the Big Boy Cab, you're a baby.
Yes. I invented that term because at FFA, me and Pyro, we had a Big Boy Cabinet, right?
And I don't think you know this. I went to FFA one time in my life. It was the week it was closing, and there was nobody there but a Chun-Li player, a white guy who I could never figure out who he was. But he gave me the tour. And it was, at least at the time of closing, it was like 7 head-to-head American cabs. And at the end, there was a Japanese Astro or Blast City. And he told me, in no uncertain terms, that he was never, ever allowed to play on that cab. It was the only Japanese cab. He goes, that's the Big Boy Cab. And that was only reserved for Pyro, Yi, and Amir. Or anybody else who was sort of like a big boy. And it wasn't like... And it was the only Japanese cab. The rest were these garbage stand-up fucking American... So, like, you had the biggest boy cap.
Yeah, I mean, you can play on it if we're not there. But if we're there, you kind of have to kind of know. So, yeah, and in Japan, it's like I kind of sensed it. It's like these guys are getting annoyed playing our scrubby tactics. These guys are getting annoyed, watching us try to, like, how we were just talking about, like, trying to steal wins here and there. But especially, like, just, look, you're in another person's country. You're in another person's home. Like, dude, like what you do in the States, what makes you think it's the same thing in their country, right? The etiquette that we have in our country is not the same arcade etiquette that they have in Japan. They're very kind and they're very polite. So it's like, oh, please, you go next. Oh, please, you go next, right? In America, it's like, I'm next. I'm not even next. I'm gonna cut in front of you, pretty much, right? So, and it's like if the Japanese are literally going, "Please, you're next," just say no, you idiot! Like, Christ, they're being polite. They're like, and it's like I really like say this to all the people in America or listening to this that plan on going to Japan, especially during Coop or Evo Japan. For the first day you're there, don't play at all. Just observe the culture, observe the etiquette. Please stop dragging my name down with the rest of your arrogant, rude dumbasses. Please, like I had to fix my reputation because of all you idiots with no etiquette at all for, Japanese culture, jumping in line, cutting in line. I remember there was this one Remy guy. Do you remember who I'm talking about, Lance? That Remy kid with the motorcycle jacket.
Yeah.
God, dude, it's like, it's like they lose a game and then they see an open cabinet, just jump right on when there's like literally 3 Japs like waiting in line for it. They just don't stand as close. Mm. It's just so rude, and and this is why they run away and they don't want to play with you guys. It's because you guys don't understand the etiquette. So I beg you, for the first day, just observe their arcade culture, and then the next day, try to blend in. Don't stand out like a sore thumb, please. I know it's hard, but please just try your best, and that'll really make your transition into playing with Japan a lot better. I'm not just saying this because, some of us have good etiquette and it's going to get, labeled in with those that don't, but it's better for your own sake because none of the Japanese players are going to want to play with you if you act like this.
Yeah, no, that checks out. I mean, yeah, I definitely was a trend I kind of noticed because I've been to Japan 4 or 5 times. And the first year I went, like the Japanese were everywhere, and I go to Newton. It's there's Yakun and there's Boss and there's Memora, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And Ryan was kind of friendly with them, and he'd ask them like, oh, can you play my friend, my little friend here, few games. That was very
My
nice of them.
Alaskan friend.
Yeah.
Yes, Alaskan friend.
My Alaskan friend, and they said nice things to me, of course, because they're Japanese and whatever. But and then I kind of just dissipated, and so I was I was kind of aware. I was like, oh, like they kind of like the more that we're coming to Japan, the less interested they are. And there's a lot of stuff, there's some stuff that's not natural to Americans, right? Like you see a cabinet of Nuki and Yamoda and Boss, you should just kind of know, like if all the other Japanese players are not putting themselves in that rotation, like that cab is not for you either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And the other thing is, like, after you play a game against a Japanese, especially if you win, don't go over to the other side looking for don't go to the other side looking for congratulations or something. That's just so rude. Like, dude, like they already hate losing to you. Why do you go to the other side to try to get your what's the term? They try to get their I don't know, but they try to feel like, oh, they want to get their props, like, oh, you beat me.
Yeah.
Or if they're like close to losing, they want to get like a acknowledgement from the Japanese, and
Sure.
then they go over and they say it in English. It's like, Christ, dude, like imagine somebody from Mongolia came to my arcade and spunk and like in at barcode and almost beat me, looks at me and starts speaking Mongolian to me. Like, dude, what the fuck? I don't speak your language, bro. Like, dude, guys, please just observe. Please just blend in. I'm saying this like for your own sake. Stop embarrassing the country. I mean, we're already embarrassing ourselves, but like don't make it any worse.
Yeah.
And for those who have never been to Japan and don't see themselves ever going, if you're coming to an American offline tournament, if you're coming to an American arcade, I mean, we still have a few. These rules still very much apply. They're not as strictly enforced, but everything that Five Star just said is also very much the way that you should handle yourself at Next Level, at Barcode, at any venue that has cabs. Read the room. You can actually learn, if you're going to try to learn, you can learn a lot more. I've learned much more by pulling up a stool and watching Nikki KO play than I ever learned by playing Nikki KO.
So you bring up such a good point, because I want to talk about that tournament in the 5-on-5 at Club Sega 2008. I remember this really took me because this is when Kuroda was doing his thing, OCV and all these teams. None of the Japs are playing. All of them. There's 60 teams of 5. They're all sitting down watching this happen. You want to know who's on the other cabinets playing? Gutex and Ma. Guess where? Are they still playing today? No. My point is this. I felt like at my level, I could learn nothing playing against these guys. I'm wasting these guys' time. I can learn so much more just sitting down watching. So for me, like most of my trips to Japan during Coop Week, I didn't play much. I just watched. And you like people that know me always say like, hey, how come you don't play? Because this isn't how I want to play. Like this is like if I want to play, I want to sit down and play match for 2 hours like I did at Versus. That's how I play somebody. Like that's how I approach the match. I don't want to play once, get up. It's.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I always play long sets if I have the option. And another thing, there's the language barrier in Japan, but if you're in an arcade setting, if you're offline and there's a very strong player, absolutely watch, but ask questions. I mean, I've learned so much by sitting and watching Frankie Daisuke and Nika play and just sitting there and go, why did you do that? What was the point of that? Oh, that's an interesting idea. What's the value? Just like, oh, what happened there? Just because, yeah, I think you probably remember this, but Jazzy won. I'm playing Yuki Spencer in casuals, and you stood behind me and coached me for like 2 or 3 games. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was the best I've ever played. I played so well. I was struggling so hard against Yuki, and I always struggle against Yuki. But when you took over, you just kind of told me, and you spoke in such simple terms. Get a hit.
Yeah,
like, it was. No, I remember that. It was
feel
a hit. And it wasn't like frame data. It wasn't big philosophical. It was just steal a hit. Good. Get him to the corner. Like it was, dude, it freed me up so much. And then you walked away, and I started getting my ass kicked again. But to have people that you believe are stronger than you teach you. I mean, you can never learn this game in isolation. You will reach a level, but it will likely be a jungle level of self-taught garbage. You need somebody. This game is not figured out by any stretch, but there are people who understand it on a deep level that can help you kind of get beyond whatever your mind is able to figure out. So tap into that, ask questions, but be respectful and understand that like a lot of people don't want to play you if you suck. We don't like play the other guy who sucks.
Unless you're my friend, and like it's okay. Like I play with Lance all the time. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's like if you come up to me, and you ask like, can you play with me? I'm gonna probably play with you. But that's very respectful for you to like come out, introduce yourself, and ask, can we play games? I'm probably gonna say yes if you do that. That's the correct way to approach players if you want to play with them. It's not jumping into line when they might already be playing a let's I don't see Steelhammer. I don't see Lancelot. So when I see them, I want to get games in with them. I don't want to be interrupted, by random. And I'm sure you guys definitely don't want to be interrupted by random Q. Like
I've only played you 7 times in my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like, dude,
the lifetime score is 1 win for me, 6 wins for you. And every night I go to bed and I think I could have at least taken 2, right? So it's probably like I probably have 2, maybe 3.
I want to play more. How about a 1st to 10 next time?
I'm done. I'm cooked. I got a kid. I don't know if you heard the news, but you missed the boat on me. I missed the boat on you. I never fucking beat you. Devastating. You know that? To know that like one day we will both die and you will die as the champion. It's awful to me.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important, I think, to approach, like, if you want to play with somebody, like it's better to, like, especially like a top player like a Nika KO or Yuki, like, make sure you just introduce yourself and be like, I'm this. Can we play some games? That's how you do it. Like let's break the ice first, and then we can play, and then we can talk about it. But don't, like, it's better not to interrupt them when they're in the middle of sets with somebody.
And this goes without saying, but if you lose, get the fuck off the cap. Like, that's a classic New York. That's a New York thing of like one more. No.
Yeah, out of here.
So like, what would happen when Issei would come and kick the shit out of us for hours? He would occasionally lose a game and he would stand up and we would say, sit down. We don't care that you lost. You have to sit on this cap. We all, like, unless you get to the level of Issei where your losses are washed away immediately because we need you to keep playing. We don't want to play each other. Like, when you lose, get up. Get up.
Right. So this is a bit of a cultural thing. I think this is a cultural divide, right, between, millennials or Zoomers maybe, or, maybe like people who have been influenced by Japan. Because, I see a lot with the young people. It's like, oh, the feeling is very much like everyone gets a turn. Everyone gets a fair shot, right? The rotation should have 20 people in it, and we all get our turn at 5-star. Yi's a very old school mentality, I would say. It's arcade, steeped in Japanese culture. I mean, even like when I first, the time I met Yi, right? I don't know if I've told this story before. It's not that interesting, but I'll be brief. I had come down to SoCal as I was living in Alaska at the time. I was very excited, Third Strike player. Oh, this game's so fun. I'm going to go to SoCal, the heart of American Third Strike, and I'm going to play those guys. And Yi, of course, is like, I'm not coming out for some guy from Alaska. Igloo Bob? No, I'm not. I don't think I need to come out for that. Yeah, and then I sit down at Boiler, and I win. I think I win one rotation of the room, so I beat everyone in the room once. And Yi is in the chat and just getting more and more annoyed and just saying, oh my god, SoCal's so trash. Do I really have to come take care of this? And so that night, he messages me and he's like, okay, I'll come play you tomorrow. We'll get tacos and we'll play. And then... Oh, that's right. Kaz beat me before the rotation ended. Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to lie or oversell my story here.
You are. We call you.
That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, so I and that's how I met Yi. Like, his initial reaction was like, I'm not gonna come fucking play some bum from Alaska. Like, I had to, like, in some small way, just even earn his attention. So it's definitely, that's, when you hear Yi talk, you can kind of see that mentality, I think. And that's where we have to, like, that's just the different cultures, basically. Yeah, because I mean, the new players, I've just trying to explain the idea of a big boy cab to some of our young people. They're like, oh, I don't get it. Doesn't
I
make
don't
any
get
sense
it.
to
Why?
them.
I mean, I don't understand. I want to play
They
too.
never seen it. They never seen it because they never grew up in an arcade environment. Like, dude, what kind of people went to arcades? Drug dealers, gangbangers. Dude, you're fighting not just for a game, you're fighting for your life out there. Trust me, man. Like, there's a lot of etiquette going around in that. You don't press taunt, trust me. Like, you press taunt, some big buff tattooed guys rushing over to their side is going to pick a fight with you. Like, listen, you online kids might not understand that. You're never going to understand that. But believe me when I tell you this etiquette and this rule book is here for a reason.
It's to keep you safe. In America, it's to keep you physically safe. In Japan, it's to keep you from being like socially ostracized.
Then they just go to a different arcade.
They're not going to punch you in Japan, but you might as well be dead to them.
And you know what? There's like just unwritten rules in all games, whether it's all sports. Like there are unwritten rules. There's unwritten rules in baseball. There's unwritten rules. You don't do this and this. And these are the unwritten rules of Third Strike. Listen, whether you want to agree with me on this or not, and this could be very controversial, but look, if you ever want to make it to the upper echelon of Third Strike players, these are the rules you're going to need to follow. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter if you never experienced the arcade, and it doesn't matter like if none of these things make sense to you that I'm talking about, and you think it's so wrong and so backwards, and I'm a boomer and this and that. Well, listen, bub. It still runs through me. It still runs through Nika KO. It still runs through Yuki Spencer, and we all abide by the unwritten rules of Third Strike.
All right.
And it all still runs through Japan too.
Right. Okay. That's everything I've got. Any last topics you want to go over?
Nope.
Nope.
Any last questions?
No more questions from the chat. Here, I'll give you guys another last. Anyone want to throw in some last minute questions? I'll give you 2 minutes. After that, we'll wrap it up. Nika KO asks, "Why doesn't E come out when I'm in SoCal?"
How do I know if he's there? Does he message me ever? Excuse me, like, are we even friends on any platform? Not that I'm on any platform that you can reach me on, but yeah, I mean, you don't tell me that you're coming. And I'm scared. And by the way, to be honest, I'm scared of Yang. I'm scared of you.
Yeah, I mean most people are. Nika, yeah. Here's a question: is Nika the best American Third Strike player of all time?
I mean, he's very good, and he's definitely he's up there. But I would have to still give that to Pyro.
Sure. Okay.
Just on accomplishments. I mean, if Nika KO plays this game for 10 more years and he wins 2 Jazzies and and a Cooperation Cup, then yeah, we'll have that discussion another day. But as of right now, I think Pyro's accomplishments are far ahead of anybody. Yeah.
Okay.
This year with Evo Japan, Evo, and Jazzy, there's an opportunity for somebody to really carve themselves out and to prove, like, what I actually. And Nika, he said on the podcast a couple weeks ago that he was interested, sort of, in that 50-50 of going to Evo as well. And I really would love to see the Americans show up to these events and kind of stake their claim as being different. I'm different. I'm a champion of Evo. I'm a champion of Jazzy 2 times. There's that debate of the American GOAT. It's very hard to really say unequivocally this person is the best because everyone's kind of had their era. There was the Ryan era. There was a Yuki era. There was absolutely a 5-star era. And like at this point, it's kind of up for grabs. We don't have a Kuroda per se that can kind of be thrown out as the GOAT.
So the Japanese absolutely see this as a platform to become famous. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not going to name any names of guys who told me they're most likely going to come, but there are quite a few, and they definitely see this as an opportunity to, be known as, be famous in their country. Actually, to win Evo, for them, it's to be famous in their country. not and also to be recognized internationally, like because they don't think like America knows about them. When I tell them like, dude, you're really popular for this, doing this, then they're like, really? I had no idea. Like I
Yeah, they're
played Tackle
gods
Maeda.
over here. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
god. He created Daipon Loop.
yeah. So I played Tackle Maeda. Yomoda and Ikego took me out to Machida, and Tackle Maeda was waiting for me. And I guess he doesn't travel to tournaments, but he still plays. And I told him about how like you did the Daipon Loop to Pyro Lee, and
Yeah, it's an
he's
amazing 1-2-3 Daipon in the corner.
right. And I was telling him how famous he was because of that. And he was like, I didn't even know Pyro was famous, first of all. Second was like, just he didn't even know Pyro was a famous player. Two, he didn't know how big he became because of that combo. Yeah.
It was known as
Like,
Maedajin. It was Maedajin for a while before it became Daipon Loop.
so a lot of these guys don't know, like, they've reached like the audience here in America. They don't know that. So for them, Evo in America is a chance for them to come here, win, and be like KO, Daigo, because they saw how that kind of like really put them in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we really
for them,
worship. We worship
yeah,
the Japanese. I mean, I've always.
they don't
I
know
tell
that.
them,
They don't know that. They don't
well,
know that.
I wish
So
they would. I mean, I wish someone could tell. It's like a beautiful girl who thinks she's ugly. It's like if only you knew how beautiful you really were. We love
yeah,
you.
if they
We
only
love
knew.
you, Taco
Right.
Maeda.
Yeah. So I think at Evo America, there's gonna be. I'm gonna tell you this. There's gonna be like 4 archetypes of players. There's gonna be, if I go, Nika KO goes, Yuki goes, Lance. Our group of like our group of the top American guys. We're the guys going in there trying to prove a point that we can compete with the Japs. Then you have the Japanese third strike players. Then you have the Japanese players who are there playing Street Fighter 6. That's going to be entering. You're going to get MOV. You're going to get Haitani. I know those guys are going to play.
Oh wow. Okay.
Kokujin. Yeah. And then you're going to get a bunch of guys who claim they love Third Strike. Those guys are there. You're going to get a big group of those guys. Those are my 4 types of players. I think it's going to obviously come down to the first 3 types being in top 16. So I hope I hope guys like if I'm in the States, I'm definitely gonna try to go. But I definitely hope guys like Nika and Yuki and Lance just
I want to see Lance. Lance isn't competing well.
I hope you guys go and take it as seriously as possible, and not really see it as an opportunity to showcase your talents outside of the American Third Strike community. Because, for Jazzy Circuit, the players in Jazzy Circuit know Nika KO, know Lance, but the American fighting game don't know Yuki Spencer, don't know Nika KO. So I really think that's an opportunity for you guys to really make your name made.
It's going. So I watch Evo every year. It's going to probably get around 200 to 250,000, maybe 300,000 viewers, like concurrent live Twitch viewers. It's Jazzy's huge, but there's nothing that we can produce that. Evo is a world championship event. It is the world championships. We haven't had a third strike world champion in a long time. Cooperation Cup is a team event. It's SBO is a long time ago, and it was a team event. Evo was always the singles world championship, and it's returned. But Jazzy's never come to be a world championship. It's the national championship, and that's incredible. But this is, if you play this game and you take it seriously and you want to kind of test yourself, you got to go to at least Evo Japan. I like Evo Japan more just because I'm a weeb. I'm a weeb like that. But
yeah, so Evo Japan is going to be pretty tough. There's going to be a lot of good players. So I could go 0-2 there. But I really think Evo America is really a chance for a lot of us that. I think for me, I did play in Evo before. My highest placing was 9th, unfortunately. Lost to Makoto Mike, that son of a bitch.
Was this the year that he got 4th? He had that. Was this a single elimination? Yes. Was this a single elimination year? Or it was one game?
Yeah, single elimination year. My highest placing was 9th. But I've been at Evos before. I think for a lot of like Nika KO and Lance and Yuki. I don't think you guys have ever played Third Strike at Evo as main game.
Oh,
And
I am the
definitely like
Hooters. I'm the Hooters Cup champion. Yeah, so I'm actually an Evo
2015.
champion. Yeah, 2015.
somebody put Lance on mute. So yeah, so I definitely think this is a chance for you guys to really go out there and I'll try to go as well, but I think we should definitely as a scene take it seriously, and really put our best foot forward. I don't want to hear like the typical American fighting game population say, wow, look at those guys, they couldn't cut it once again, like, because that's what they're gonna say if we don't do well in this tournament. So I think we should take it very seriously, and if we don't show up, that makes us look even worse.
Okay.
And it ain't coming back.
Right. This is a 1 year
the
thing. Man.
last go. This thing ain't coming back with another
One
of these.
chance. Yeah.
Right.
So this is
You're
one
saying-
chance.
I don't think you'll see this until the 50th anniversary or something. Like,
Yeah. Okay, a few more questions and we'll wrap it up. Kang says, when will Guest 81 show up on Fightcade 2? So, I'm gonna guess the answer is never.
What game is it?
online?
When are you gonna play
When are
Third
you
Strike
gonna-
on the
I'm
internet?
gonna play online. You know why I don't play online?
Please.
So you idiots wouldn't ever get the satisfaction of beating me online.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
You know
Just
what some of
spoil
these guys have
something.
never been able to say? You know what some of these guys have never been able to say? I've never played 5-star. I've never beaten 5-star, and I'm gonna keep it that way. I ain't losing to you guys online. You want to come see me? This is a public service announcement. Go qualify for top 16 at Jazzy, and you can pick me first. Then you can go toe to toe with me.
And
That's it.
Yi will be at Jazzy this year, as long as the race war thing is locked in. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have my lawyers talk to Mutant's lawyers.
Yeah. Where was I missed a couple. Mutant says, are you betting Dubs Lakers game tomorrow? If so, who are you betting on?
I got the Warriors tomorrow.
Okay, nice. This one might be spicy. You can just say you don't want to answer it. I don't know. I don't know the backstory behind this. BMXer says, Yee, what money does Ray Ramos owe you? Just out of curiosity.
How does this guy know this?
I mean, Ray lives in Arizona, so.
Yeah, so Ray randomly messaged me out of the blue one day. He's like, "Hey, dog, I need to borrow some money," and it was a small amount. It was like $200, and I didn't even think twice. I just sent it to him like right away. So and Ray's always thanking me. He's like, "Man, thanks, dog. You really had my back when I really needed it. You didn't even ask me." And he's like, 3 years late, I'm paying me back $200, so obviously the guy really needs it. So, just to fuck with him, every time I see Ramos like comment on anything, you see me type, Ramos, where's my fucking money? Yeah. So, so I just mess with him like that. Anyway, So Ray, after 2-3 years, he finally pays me back. He's like, man, thanks, dog. Thanks for finally paying me back. I'll and he said he was going to throw a little bit on top, extra for me. He didn't, but that's fine, totally fine. So he paid me back, and he's like, "Thanks, dog. I really appreciate it." He had to. I don't know if I should say it, but yeah,
okay.
but yeah,
have to say
he gave me back. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that in private. I'll tell you in private.
All
but yeah,
debts
Sure.
are
That's
covered.
fine.
Lannister
Fine.
always pays his debts.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for questions. Before we end the podcast, any final thoughts, summation of what you wanted to say today?
Yeah, I think Dr. Steelhammer needs to make a trip to Japan and just really, experience, Third Strike. You played this game for that long. You love this game. You got to make a trip to Japan. Just don't go when I'm there. I was kidding. You need to go. Actually, you need to go when I'm there. That's your only hope.
Well,
Probably.
it sounds like you're a ticket to actually playing the real players. If I just show, I don't know anybody, so I would just show up and be.
Yeah. So I think that everybody should definitely try what I did. Spend 3 weeks in Japan and just live out your dream playing Third Strike. And I look forward to seeing these next. This is a big year for Third Strike. This is absolutely true. So I look forward to seeing all this unfold.
Yeah.
Everything,
Look forward.
the Third Strike gods are in control, and everything happens for a reason. So, this is the year we get 3 monster events within a couple months of each other, and I just so happened to decide this is the year I go spend a month in Japan. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're getting ready.
yeah,
I certainly appreciate you making time for this. We've talked, but I never had a long form conversation with you like this. And going into it, I was under the impression that it was going to be you making a lot of jokes and you kind of talking your shit as you do. But I was pleasantly surprised by how insightful you are, and I also am not shocked that you still have a pure perspective on the game because I think that your mentality really allows for that. That you're not bitter, you're not angry, you're really trying to remain pure and trying to grow. And I think that that is the only attitude that will allow longevity in a game like Third Strike, which can really burn you out once you kind of hit that wall. And you've probably hit more walls than any of us have ever even thought of being possible. But you keep moving forward, and that idea of always being the student. It's a
yeah,
good philosophy for life across all
yeah.
areas.
Yeah, I think Third Strike has just taught me so much about everything in life, and I don't know, like I felt like last year I really went through the motions after Jazzy. I didn't even care if I lost. That's when I felt like okay, I've lost it because I didn't care. Usually when I lose,
Mhm.
I really care, right? I didn't even care last year, and I'm having a beer with Arlieth of all people, so I definitely stopped caring.
Rock
Um,
bottom experience. It sounds
Is Arlieth your? What is Arlieth to you? What is your relationship?
he's my punching bag.
All right, all right.
Yeah. So anyways, I mean, I didn't expect to really take this. I didn't know what to expect on this trip when I went to Japan. I just went. I didn't tell anybody I was going except Ryan. I showed up, and it was like everything. It was magical. It was everything I could have ever like wanted in the game fulfilled. Like that 3 weeks in Japan was more to me than winning Jazzy or anything ever. Like that's it was kind of like living out my childhood dream of
yeah.
playing in Japan when I was in college. I always thought about, man, I wish I could play with those guys every single day. And I did it for 3 weeks. And I'm going to do it again for another month, next month.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the bug, and this is going to become a regular thing. It's a good thing you live in California. It's the shortest
That's why I'm
possible
thinking
flight.
about, listen, that's why I'm thinking about moving to Shanghai, actually. So,
Ooh,
yeah.
Spicy.
So yeah. This country's a dump, guys, by the way. I don't know why we live here. I don't know why we're here. But yeah, it's I've found a new joy for Third Strike that I thought I had lost. But yeah.
it's
So
inspirational because I'm kind of in that slump. To hear you come through the other end, maybe once my kid's in daycare and I have a little more time, but this is very inspirational.
yeah, I think that like because there was COVID and there was Coop stop happening for 4 years, Coop was kind of like the excuse for all of us to kind of go to Japan and play Third Strike there. But for me, like I wanted to experience Japan like daily, not like during an event. And I think that was what like I mean yeah I played at Coop. Yeah, we made it on stage at Coop. That being there for 3 weeks just playing Third Strike like on a normal day and just like like a normal fitting in like a normal Third Strike player in
Mhm.
Japan was way more fulfilling than getting on stage at Coop.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wait till you try. Wait till you try Fight Kid.
What
That's
truly
when you're
fulfills
going to
me
really go, holy
is
shit, I'm full. This is what I've always wanted.
this is what I was missing. When you get to S rank on Fightcade and
Ooh,
you play 10 run first to 10 on Fightcade,
it's like
that's what true happiness is.
it's like floating. Truly,
Well, when I think about having to play 10 ren on Fightcade first to 10, makes me actually want to like quit the game.
Nice.
I don't know how you
well,
guys do it.
a lot of people have quit the game as the result of playing 10 red on Fight Kid.
And you know what? He's in his room, like cracking up. I know. I've actually played Fightcade at 10 Ren's house before. Dude, I went to 10 Ren's house, and he actually lives down the street from me. All he had was a bed, a sofa, and his Fightcade setup. He had nothing else in there. So
I'm sure there were
just
100
know
PS5s, 100 PS5s in the closet that he was about to
no,
sell.
no. So that's at his parents' place. This is his place in L.A. Yeah, it's like a tiny little studio, and all he had was a bottle of whiskey. He had a bottle of whiskey, Flycade setup, a bed, and I think he had a sofa. That's it.
That's what it takes to be the Ibuki that helped America get top 8 at Cooperation Cup. That's what it takes.
He might be the best Ibuki in the world, actually.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You didn't put Tinman on your co-op top 5, but he did.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's tough to leave. I guess I gotta kick myself off the team. I gotta kick myself off the team and put Tinman on there.
Nice. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that about wraps it up for us. Thank you all for tuning in to the Lance and Ray podcast featuring Dr. Steelhammer as an interviewer and Yi 5-star Wang as our guest. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.